Hello, 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 and welcome to Penny for a Tale. We are back, finally repaired from Origins and kicking ass as normal, slowly but surely. Oh wait, we got a. Yeah, I know my cams are messed up. Oh, I see why. There you go. So yeah, you can see everyone's beautiful face now. We have a very special show prepared. We got first off a new player today, so I'm really excited about. But I'll let her introduce herself when that time comes. And we also have for the first time a the GM for the system we are playing. So you guys know who I am. I know. I'm sorry, James. I'll put your face somewhere over here sometimes. So once again, I am Mitchell. This is Penny for a Tale, and let's start off with Jacob introduce himself. Then we'll go Malia, then Amanda. Oh, let me double check that then. I know, right? Oh, I got. Let me figure out.
Review to
There you
appease
go.
people.
All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, Jacob, can you please introduce yourself again?
Yeah, now I got the rough one out of the way. It's
Yeah.
all good.
He just
um,
berated us the whole time.
it's really good because I said a lot of mean things during that. Yeah.
How much you hate us? It's fine.
My name is Jacob McIntyre. I am one of the co-creators of Beyonder. I work at Flying Night Bear Games. I am very happy to be here and to run game for you guys tonight. If you want to find me on social media, I have a Twitter with 7 tweets now that I tweeted the start of this session. That is at Jacob underscore McIntyre underscore, and that is McIntyre McEntire.
Oh yeah.
Hi, I'm Malia. I show up here a lot. I technically have a Twitch. I've not set it up yet. It's probably the 50th time I've said that here. And today you're gonna see me move this kitten a lot because he's being a shithead. Just so you're aware. His name's Chunky Chip for future reference.
It's our new mascot. It's gonna be great. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Amanda. I'm currently up in Maine. I do a lot of LARPing. I play a game called Madrigal, which is in Woodstock, Connecticut, and I will be staffing for the upcoming installation of Coddington Woods starting in 2020.
You know, the I was reading through the Beyonder book, and I was very curious who the Flying Night Bear was, and now it all makes sense.
Does it?
It somewhat does.
It's actually an old story dating back to a campaign that my brother used to run, but I'll dive into that later if you guys want me to.
Oh, definitely, definitely. You can't just tease us about that. All right, Jacob, take it away.
All right. So, you three are. Well, first, before I jump into the story itself, let me tell you a little bit about the world. So, the world comprises 6 fundamental energies. Everything that arises in the world arises as some sort of interaction between those energies. The energies are much like the fundamental forces in our world. They're just these sort of primal constants that build the physics of the world around them. These 6 energies come in 3 opposing pairs. There's the outer energies, physic and body, which govern the world around you and your own internal self. The inner energies, emotion and mental, which govern pretty much exactly what you think. And the ethereal energies, spirit and shadow, which govern your connection to the other energies: spirit, binding those energies together; shadow, pushing them apart. Most of the world that we'll be playing in is built around the 6 guilds. There is one guild that is devoted to the study of each energy. And these guilds are kind of like a cross between Starfleet and the NIH. They're like scientific, exploratory organizations, not a huge military presence, although there are like some military assets they maintain just to protect themselves. And that's pretty much enough grounding to get started. So you 3 are the best of the best of the best of all of the interns that applied for this guild position going down in what's called the Sojourner 2. So the Sojourner 2 is going to be diving deep into the bottom of the Kelith Sea. And it's going to be exploring this vast pocket of air down there, probably 15 miles across, called Etham's Lung. Etham is the name of the planet you live on, which is technically, by definition, a living creature. Etham has various organs around itself. It has hearts, which are concentrations of 1 or maybe 2 even energies in particular places. It has livers where various toxic elements are filtered out of the ecosystem. And it has this lung, which is just called a lung because it's a big pocket of air. You have no idea what it actually does. About 1,000 years ago, the guilds sent down Sojourner 1, which was an unmanned probe. Now they're sending down a manned expedition. Specifically, the Division of Geoanatomic and Fecto-Anatomical Surveys and Research, DGFSR, or as most people call it, GEO, is sending down this Sojourner 2 expedition. And you 3 have been chosen to be the sort of part of the support staff for it. So.
Wait, so we're going like underwater?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
I don't.
Down.
I feel like Tolitz has like this like fear of going underwater.
This is gonna be a rough one for Tolitz. So, you are standing on the shore of a beach. The gentle wash of waves sort of reaches your ears. You smell the salt water in the air. The sun is beaming down on your skin, sort of warming you. And above it all, you hear the hubbub and excited bustle of the entire camp preparing to launch this expedition. You are just now, with everyone else, streaming into what is called the diving bell. It's a sphere about 20 feet in diameter, inside of which are various straps sort of fixed to the walls, where each of you will strap in for the journey down below. You have drilled this many times, but as you pile in now, there's a sort of sense of rising excitement and maybe a little nervousness. You walk inside. You see a small Dwahili woman, whose name you know to be Silix, pull a white stone out of her pocket and whisper something into it, and the doors slide closed gently. Almost no sound as like these 2 plates sort of meet on the side of the sphere, and the seam just like disappears. You're suddenly plunged into pitch blackness, which is then replaced with a nice, kind of a little bit sterile but warm ambient light that fills the sphere. You feel a sudden lurch as it lifts up and begins to carry you out over the water. You look around, you see some of the fixtures of the expedition. Silix is the leader of the expedition, a Dwahili of some renown and great passion for this particular project. She has intricate tattoos of interlocking hexagons going from the side of her face all the way down her collarbone to her upper arm. And you see a sort of striation of bands that goes up her left leg. Dwahilis often have lots of tattoos, often representing something important about themselves or what they study or believe in. Standing next to her, you see a person you know only as Josier. You don't know much about Josier, but what you know mostly is that he's pretty scary. So he is a Kron, so one of the snake people that are native to the Tamaran continent, about 8 feet tall, not overly thick, because Kron tend to be more sinewy, but like pretty thick for a Kron. He's like an intimidating guy. He just looks very strong, muscular. Every time you've seen him walking around camp, where some of the other people are like, "Oh wow, this is so great! I'm so excited." He's just like looking around, like stern, like making sure nothing bad is happening. You all know him as sort of the security for your expedition. Lastly, you look to your left and you see this fiery, red-headed human leaning back in one set of straps. You know his name to be Kop. He is the Mentarch and the mnemonic for the expedition. So the mnemonics are a specific subdivision of the Mentarch's Guild that specialize in memorization. Everything that he experiences on this expedition, he will remember exactly. And once he returns to the guilds, he will be able to deposit that knowledge into certain artifacts that will then be placed into storage so that the memories can be accessed later. He can also pluck memories from your guys' heads, copy them, not like delete them entirely. Though it's possible it could do that too. So if you witness something interesting, he can always take that from you.
And which race was this?
He's a human.
Ah, human. Okay.
So, as you sort of strap in, whisper nervously amongst yourselves, as you feel a slight shake as the sphere you imagine hits the water and begins to descend, Silix turns to you three, says, "Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I've been so busy arranging everything. I don't think I've had a chance to introduce myself. I'm Silix. It's very nice to meet you. Can you tell me what your names are?"
Yeah, of course. And so you see Towlitz is strapped in, kind of like shivering a little bit as he's holding on to something, probably like his own chest, and then like moving to like the chair, just trying to grab onto something here and there, especially when there's like a gust of wind or anything that kind of shakes up this little contraption of the slightest bit. But he is a Ushin, so very broad shoulder, has hair, horns that kind of come out, but are painted with these green tips on the edge there, and some little designs as well. He has a staff that is currently like probably like just partial next to him, and definitely has this kind of shivering look about him as he responds. My name is Tolitz. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a mystic, or trying to be one. Thanks for having me.
She kind of gives you this warm look. She like reaches out and like catches one of your like kind of nervously grasping hands and just holds it a little bit reassuringly. Says, "We're really glad to have you, Tolitz. Thanks for coming."
Thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure, really, honestly. And I assure you, despite the current shivers, once my feet are on some form of solid ground, I'll be much better.
She looks over at the rest of you. It's like look on her face.
Well, I can introduce myself, no problem. My name is Asha. You look over and you see a Wellan who is in primarily leathers, and she has bright blue hair pulled back into a ponytail. Her ears are enormous, and as she's talking, they twitch a little bit. She seems complacent, not really super excited, but just kind of neutral about the whole mission. She has a couple daggers on her hips, and she is generally kind of calm. She's got her arms crossed over her chest, and she's sitting with one leg over the other as they're starting to descend.
Very nice to meet you, Asha. I love your daggers.
Thank you very much.
And what's your name?
I'm Tora. Is like what I'm imagining for like the fin colors is more like like a subtle iridescence. It's almost all the same tone until you can catch it in the right light. Tora is very comfortable right now, like excited but like not worried like Tolitz here. Just casual, just looking around, observing everything. Wearing some padded armor. Sorry, I'm also reading the sheet right now too. Sorry.
No? Okay.
But yeah, very comfortable
All right.
and eager to set out.
All right. Well, I think we're all a little eager to be on our way here. It's been quite a wait, hasn't it? Almost 1,000 years now. Oh boy, don't you guys feel excited? I feel excited. I feel so excited right now.
Yes,
So do I.
Perfectly exhilarated by the prospect of this whole thing.
She gives you like a slap on the like chest, which is like a little like kind of hard for like her diminutive size. She's like a couple feet tall, maybe.
And he's like, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm very excited.
No. It's fine. Once my feet are on the ground, I'm just tucked in. I'm sure I'll be fine.
And she said, "Well, don't worry. That'll be happening in not too long." And you hear this this sort of like dry, smooth voice from the other side of the diving bell. Well, I don't know. I mean, the last one they sent of these things, the test sphere, that just blew up in the middle of the water, right? Didn't it, Silix? And you look over and it's Koth, and he's kind of giving you this like grin.
So what's the percentage of that happening? Surely it's low.
It's low. No more than 30%.
30%. And he's like looking at his feet. Okay.
So it's kind of like, Koth, that's not very nice.
And he has like this
Jesus.
leather bag where he's like,
Okay. So you guys pass the rest of the time in amicable conversation. At a certain point, Silix pulls this smooth white stone from one of her pouches again, whispers something into it, and you see the sides of the sphere go translucent, which is really cool for a second, as you sort of see this ambient light fading away from above you, and the darkness below you, but becomes, depending on your nature here, maybe a little bit more for Toadlets, perpetually more terrifying as you just descend into this absolute blackness after maybe 5 or 10 minutes. After a little bit, you do start to make out in the very distance below you a small gray pinprick of what looks like light. And as time goes on, it grows a little bigger and a little bigger. You see, it's not actually light. This is a surface. This is the floor of the ocean. You realize the sphere you're in must be just exuding a brilliant amount of light right now, which explains the relative lack of sea life you've seen around you. As this patch grows and grows, you eventually see it fill your vision. And as you look down, you see this giant sort of dome, oblong dome covering the floor of the ocean. You slow as you approach the sort of surface membrane. Silix pipes up, says, "Okay, everybody, just hold on. We're gonna jump through. Just gotta calibrate the change between media." She pulls out the stone, starts whispering something into it, and she says, "Uh-oh, hold on."
What?
And I want everyone to make an athletics check.
Oh, jeez.
How do?
So, the way you do this is it's quite simple. If you look on the second page of your character sheet, you will see talents at the top, talent modifiers. The very top left says athletics. So these are just all of your talents, which represent your ability to do mundane things in the world. Convincing people of things, noticing things, jumping, running, sneaking, all that good stuff.
And then it's just 2d10, right?
Mm-hmm. So
And
yeah,
then plus or minus that modifier.
exactly. And it's 2d10 added together, not like percentile.
Okay, awesome.
I got a 7.
All right, that's not bad.
Ooh, because I'm a boss, got a 22.
Wow, that's very good.
Thank you.
Also, for those watching, I posted the character sheet on the chat, so if you want to kind of follow along about what we're kind of doing and the different things, feel free to click on it.
And what did Asha get?
So can you remind? I'm sorry. Can you remind me again?
Sure.
What you were rolling?
So just roll the 2d10, and then on the second page of your character sheet, take the number next to athletics and either add it or subtract it, depending on whether it's positive or negative.
18.
18. All right, excellent. You guys both did quite well. So, Asha and Tolitz, sort of with their very lithe and like athletic and bulky forms, respectively, sort of like just grab on and like brace handily. Tolitz, you like look up and like, huh, as she says that, but it's just shaking. You're actually just so stuffed into your straps that like you don't really move at all. Tora, you sort of hear that. Your straps are a little loose. You're kind of the like skinny, well-in-frame thing going on. They're pretty petite creatures. You don't quite manage to brace in time. You rock your head back and you smack it into the back of the sphere. So just take 1 fatigue for me. So on the right-hand side of that same page where it has all your talents, you'll see a big chart that says wounds and one under that that says fatigue. The way that it works in this game is you just cross them off. So like if you take 1 wound, you're going to cross off the top left box. If you take another, you'll cross out the second from the left, and then you'll continue to go over. And when you fill the row, you go down and you keep going. And you can see those little like penalties you get as you take more and more wounds or fatigue.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah. Fatigue doesn't matter too much. If you're outside of combat, you regenerate fatigue at a rate of 1 per minute as long as you only have the first row filled. So if you take fatigue outside of combat, we generally say, don't worry about it, but just to bring it to your attention.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. So there's a brief moment of hubbub and rustle as everyone's sort of like knocked around on the inside of the sphere. And then it slowly begins to descend. And as it does, you notice what was partially obscured by the sphere and the membrane before. You see in one corner of the lung, there is the largest marblin you have ever seen. Marblin is a creature very similar to a giant squid. You've, especially you, Asha, have seen some large sea creatures in your life, maybe a couple 100 feet long. This one is like pretty easily half a mile long, possibly more. It is in the very sort of corner of the sphere almost. The lung itself is this sort of oval shape, just of bare gray-blue rock. No trace of wetness that you can see as you descend closer to the surface, with some sort of membrane that you just pass through sort of doming above it. You touch down, hovering about half a foot off the ground. Silix again takes out the stone, whispers something into it, and the doors smoothly slide open. The smell of salt, sort of dank air reaches you, and this sort of ambient, humid, room temperature feeling floods the sphere as everyone begins to unbuckle and flood out. Immediately, tents begin to go up, equipment begins to be set up, and the main base is being established. One of the expedition's sort of senior members, a older Welland man named Brajo, sort of pulls you aside. He says, okay, you three, we don't have a lot of work for you to specifically do once you help get the tent set up, so why don't you check out that marblin over there? That's pretty cool. We've all got pre-assigned tasks, and we didn't know that was there, so yeah, knock yourselves out.
with the large creature right there, yes?
Yeah. What, do you think it's gonna hurt you?
I'm not really much knowledgeable about such sea creatures. Is it going to hurt us?
Well, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure they need to be in water to live. And he sort of looks over at this like massive hunk of like flesh just lying on the floor, and he's like, I'm pretty sure you'll be okay. Just keep your wits about.
If you say
Don't
so.
fall off it.
Okay.
I promise.
You can do this, Toilets.
Okay. So you spend a couple minutes setting everything up. At some point during this, you see a sort of clearing form in the middle of all these people, where Josier stands along with Koth, Solix, and a few others. Josier sort of looks up, focuses, and then his eyes begin to cloud over with this sort of scarlet liquid almost, and it suddenly begins to just like drip down his face, falling from his chin. Most of you haven't seen this before, but Josier is activating a power, which are the sort of supernatural abilities that you have as channels. Channels are the people like you who can channel the energies through themselves. Every single person who channels powers has a specific mark that happens. A mark is what we call it. It's basically a physical manifestation of the energy moving through them, and it's unique to every person. So it could be the crying tears, it could be a feeling of sort of giddiness in everyone around you, it could be a sudden chill in the air, or your scales or skin or fur changes color. So just think on that for now and think about what your characters might be. But as Josier does this, these scarlet ribbons, the same color as the tears, sprout from his hands, 6 from each hand. 3 of them from each hand scoop up Koth and Silix and a couple other members of the expedition. The other 3 sort of plant into the ground of the lung, this sort of almost blue-gray, almost corally-like substance, and just begin to like gallop away off towards the far side of the lung from where you landed.
Interesting.
So,
Can I recognize what sort of channel that was? What energy?
yeah. That's a pretty easy one to recognize. So Josier seems to be, or at least seems to have some evoker powers. Evokers are the guild that studies physic energy. So the diving bell you came down in, and pretty much all of the tools that the guild uses, the instrumentation, those are created by evokers. But they can also do things like that and like shoot bolts of lightning or fire if they're feeling like it.
You know, on a Monday.
Yeah. So, as you guys are sort of left watching the retreating form of Josier and the main upper echelon of the expedition go into the distance, the tents sort of set up and organized, everyone's settling into their routine. What would you like to do?
I mean, toilets will go up to Tora and Asha, kind of clutching his staff. As I know we have probably introduced ourselves previously, but I feel like in this new environment, maybe another one might be better. Anyway, my name is Toilets. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. I'm Tora. You don't have to be so nervous. Just take it down a couple notches, friend.
Well, thank you. I will try. I'll try to do so. Thank you, Tora.
I'm Asha. It is very nice to meet you, as I said before. And she is right. There is no reason to be so nervous. You will be quite okay.
Well, you know, I will try to keep that in mind. It's just having all this water above and around. It's not much like the plains, the region of Joea that I'm used to. But I shall keep that in mind. So should we poke and prod and maybe check out this rather large what are they called, crustaceans or a squid thing? What do you
I'm
guys
pretty
think?
sure I know what they're called, but I can't remember from a bad player.
It's Marblin.
A what?
Marblin.
Marblin.
Marblin. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Hell yeah, let's check out this Marblin.
So as part of my barrier ability, I can identify any plants or animals. Will that yield any more information? And what do I have to do to kind of get that?
That is a great question. So, can you tell me specifically what the ability says?
Yeah, so it is barrier through spirit, level 1. Barrier ability says you can identify any plants and animals.
Okay. So basically, what that would allow you to do is be like, "Yep, that's a Marblin." Or if it's not a Marblin, you could be like, "Yep, that's something
That's
else."
not a Marblin. I am going to make sure that this is a Marblin.
So if you do want to do some sort of investigation of the Marblin itself, I would probably allow you to get some bonuses for that, depending on what you're trying to do.
Ooh, then let's do that. What the talents, right? Or what they called?
Yep.
Yeah, what talent would should I roll for that?
Well, what exactly are you trying to do? Also, the Marblin right now is probably like a half mile from your camp. Like
Oh,
it seems very big
uh-huh.
because it's big, but it's actually pretty far away right now.
Ooh,
You'd
then
have to walk like a bit to get to it.
let's do it then. Would you two fancy yourself on a journey towards that creature? I mean, they did say check it out, so I feel like we should do our due diligence, at least in this regard.
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
I think that would be a great idea. I've seen these before, but nothing quite as large. This is definitely interesting.
Excellent. All right, then let's head on over then. He'll start.
As you begin to walk off, you hear Brajo yell, "Don't get eaten!"
Wait. By what? This is
He's joking.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's joking. Don't worry about it. The thing seems very unmoving. We'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, all right. Let's go then. We'll just start with his little walking staff. Start heading over.
Okay. All right. So it's like a 5-10 minute walk over. As you get closer, the vision of it that you saw before, which was like, wow, this thing's pretty big, it becomes like, wow, this thing is really big. It starts to like loom over you as you approach it, and by the time you sort of get right up to it, you're just doing the like, the like New York looking skyscrapers thing. It's huge. It's like hundreds of feet tall at the highest point. In fact, you can see this like just the very edge of this one massive eye that's probably like 30 feet or so across, peeking out at the top.
Oh my. All right. So toilets will start kind of just touching some areas and just seeing like first off, I want to see like what killed this great beast.
Okay. Okay. So you're just gonna sort of touch it and explore it tactilely and examine it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be a perception check.
Okay, excellent. I'm touching the eyeball.
Both of you to assume you can reach the eyeball from there.
Pretty high up.
I have my 3-foot staff. I got a 7.
Okay. So you reach out, you sort of place a hand on the skin of this thing. It's this sort of rough looking purpley, like dark purpley with a little bit of blue and gray mixed in. The first thing that you notice as you touch it is that the skin is like hard. It's almost brittle. Like it's about the same texture as the floor beneath you is, which seems strange. That's, for the most part, that's all you notice at this point. That just kind of throws you off a bit.
I'm like,
yeah, just.
Yes, this is quite a beast that we have here. It's does anyone know what these I'm kind of like stomping on the ground. Does anyone know what these floors are made out of? This just feels like similar in some regard. Do you guys have any? I feel like I'm talking to myself.
What would I roll to know what the floor is made out of?
You could roll scholarship.
Scholarship.
Lay science.
Yeah.
I rolled a 12.
Nice. So, sort of looking at the floor, feeling it sort of like feeling it run through your fingers, taking a little pinch of like errant dust and like smelling it a little bit. It seems to be a pretty standard, sort of ocean floor basalt sort of rock. But it does seem a little weird. Like there are these almost pores in it that don't really make much sense with the whole ocean floor vibe. And there's, as you peek a little bit in, you can, and like feel up close to the rock, you can actually feel this like very gentle breeze coming through.
Huh. Well, this is weird.
Well, what's weird?
I mean, it's like a standard ocean floor, but there's wind coming from it, kind of. I'm not good at explaining.
That doesn't sound right. There shouldn't be wind, right? No, I think not. Maybe, Asha, you said you've seen something like this before, and I kind of wave at the squid marble thing.
Marblin.
Marblin. What are your experiences with them?
Well, I have seen them before, but as I said, this one's a little bit different. It's quite a bit bigger. What would I roll to kind of like do a knowledge check on it?
So that would be scholarship. And it will be easier for you because, you are a sea dwelling creature.
$15.
Okay. And what exactly are you trying to like ascertain about it?
Just to kind of see if there's anything different from it. What basically kind of just trying to understand better what it is and how to describe it to others.
Okay. So there's a couple things you notice. The first is the same thing that Toilets was saying, which is that it's got this sort of hard, almost like a shell at this point exterior, which is not something you're used to. Like, you've seen beached sea creatures before, and they're generally either like kind of tough and a little bit squishy because they're still mostly alive, or they're like spongy and like gross because they're rotting and dead. This thing is definitely neither of those things. The second thing you notice is that the color seems a bit off. There are slight regional differences in shading of many different sea creatures, but this seems like almost kind of drab. Like it should be a much more vibrant hue of purple than it is, or a vibrant hue of blue or anything else. It doesn't seem to fit the sort of, it feels like the color's been like drained almost.
So I'm not used to this kind of marble. This is not what I've seen before. It has a hard shell. Normally they don't have anything like that. And the color is very different. Usually they're quite vibrant, almost kind of like my hair. So I'm not sure what it is about this one, but it is definitely not like what I've ever seen before.
I see.
Weird.
Is this a cause for alarm, maybe? Maybe we should return and tell the others if, I don't know, it just sounds like it's maybe worth further investigation, maybe an expert of some sort. What do you guys think?
I mean, there's no harm in asking. They didn't seem too overly concerned with just even it being here, though.
That's fair. Maybe they missed something that, I don't know. I mean, regardless, it feels like there's nothing else we can do here. It's Asha, do you know how it died in any way?
Would that be a perception check?
Sure, yeah.
Nine?
9. You don't see any marking on the body itself, at least not from where you're standing. Pretty much all you can see now is like the sort of crown of the head.
Well, I don't see anything that really indicates how it would have died, but I think it definitely warrants further investigation. As I said, something here is not right. This is not like any marble I've ever seen.
Well, maybe we can go around it and
Yeah, that's what I was
inquire
gonna say.
a little bit more. Oh, I'm sorry. I took the words right out of your mouth.
I'm clearly very angry about it. You're good.
Tora, I'm truly sorry.
I'm sarcasming at you.
Oh, one of those. Yes, yes. Okay, all right then. Let's carry on. And maybe we can walk around it. And, yes, yes. Okay. Start walking.
Do you guys want to walk left or right?
Left.
Ooh, yeah, left. Left is always like the boss that slaps you upside the head and kills you. While the right is all like the potions and the money that you needed to not die.
So you want to go left then?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Excellent. That sounds good. I'll have to make a note to move the boss next time.
Bum, bum, bum.
I mean, nothing. Yeah, so you guys walk around. It takes probably like another 5-10 minutes to circle this marbling to get to sort of the tail end. As you do, the like massive head that you saw slowly begins to taper off into this sort of trunkish body, and finally these 10 long tentacles that begin to just, you see them sort of separate as the body continues from the main hulk of it and sort of trail along the floor, generally in like the smooth direction towards, pointing like straight towards the membrane. A couple are sort of akimbo, strewn over the floor, and there's parts where you have to sort of jump over or duck under various ones of these. Everyone make me another perception check.
This is something I'm great at. I'm not.
10.
10.
7. Yay.
Just to double check, we are rolling too, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Our
So-
low rolls are just bad.
16.
16. Okay. So, Asha, as you sort of continue to walk along, following the other two, a little bit just casually eyeing this thing as you walk by, because you're still a little bit like something about it's bugging you. You notice that as you've been walking along, like you glance to the side and you see about halfway down the body, there's definitely more sort of luster and color and vibrancy than there was up at the front.
So that's very interesting. So at the back of this marbling, it's much more colorful. It's almost looking like color was drained out of it, perhaps? I don't know how else to describe it, but this looks right. The rest of the body, not so much.
Oh, I see. Well, that is curious. Maybe maybe something occurred around the front part, the head, and it's slowly draining the color out from the rest of it, and this is kind of a point that hasn't been touched as of yet.
I mean, what could do that?
I don't know. This is, again, this whole thing is very strange.
Make a scholarship check, Tora.
You can do it, Tora.
It's not completely terrible. That's a 15.
That's good. 15's good. So there aren't any creatures you know of that are as directly sort of vampiric as this thing seems to be. There's like the hollow men that you know of, which are this sort of shadow creature that basically can shift its form to emulate whatever peoples it is amongst, sort of makes a like very bad visual representation of them, and then lives in that society and then slowly like, drains everyone else of all of their energies just by being around them. Pretty horrifying creatures. But it doesn't seem likely that one of them would be down here. You do remember reading just from the archives of the first expedition that there are a lot of weird readings of all the ambient energies. And it's entirely possible that this sort of tiny biome has encouraged energetic behavior that is not seen in other places. Also, this is probably a good point to mention. So each of you guys have sort of like a basic exploration scientific kit with you. So you have strips of what are called easel. It's kind of like litmus paper, but attuned to specific energies instead of acid or base. So you each have 10 swatches for each of the 6 energies. And when you like rub the swatch against something, it will come up with a color representing the concentration of that energy in whatever you rubbed it against. You also have like little chisels and scalpels and like bags and vials to collect samples in.
Interesting. So we can take a sample and see what energy is attuned to this creature. I'll go ahead and do that then.
Okay. Make me an athletics check.
13.
Okay. And you're using the scalpel?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the one thing you notice is, first as you approach, you notice that Asha is right. Definitely is a different sort of color here. And as you lay a hand on it to take this sample, you can feel the flesh is a little bit spongier, a little more like that sort of tense rigidity that comes with like sea life, that sort of coating of solid muscle that still like gives a little bit. And as you cut in, you see like the normal sort of various ichors and liquids you would expect dribble out of the cut that you make.
All right. Collect it, and I'm gonna I guess touch the stone to see what energy affinity is associated with this.
So you have basically you have one type of easel for each energy. So
Yeah.
which energy are you testing it for?
Let's go with spirit.
Spirit?
Start out, yeah.
Okay. You rub one of the spirit strips on it. It comes back this sort of very dull blue, sign of little to no spirit energy present.
All right. How about shadow?
Shadow comes like this sort of middling concentration, like a low sort of ambient level, a little bit higher than it would be in a living creature, but that's because it's sort of beginning to take over and, as is the natural process in a decomposing organism, break down all the other energies present.
Yeah. So I know there are like undead things and everything. Is there like an affinity I should be checking to figure out if this has anything to do with?
So that's a good question. Undead in the Beyonder world are very different than undead in like a sort of, classic high fantasy setting. The only difference between undead and living is that instead of spirit, the undead have this energy called stillness that holds all of their component energies together, which basically means they cannot. It's whereas spirit is like growing and evolving constantly, stillness is very static. It makes them hard to damage, and they don't like die of old age like normal because they don't change as readily. But it also makes it more difficult for them to like grow and evolve and adapt. You don't have swatches for detection of stillness, and there is much debate as to whether stillness is actually an energy at all.
I see. But it didn't have any spirit, right? Just like a little bit.
Just like it had like a tiny to vanishingly small amount.
So does that communicate that it died like within a week or a couple days or?
Make a scholarship check for that. So that's relatively specific knowledge.
All right, come on. I got a 9.
All right. Nine's not bad. Yeah, things like just because of the way the system is built, things tend much more towards the center. So like 9 isn't that bad. 6 isn't even that bad. Like a 2 is bad. That's what you should watch out for.
I'll hit it. I'll hit it definitely.
Sure. I have faith. So from what you know, the only things that immediately depart the body are mental and emotional. Those energies just like poof when something dies because those faculties are completely gone. Then spirit sort of disappears over the next week to a month, maybe? Not totally sure.
All right, I look around at the others, so and nothing seems off as far as I can tell. Should I? Do you guys think is any point in checking the others?
So Asha walks around a little bit more. Obviously, she can't walk around the thing again because it's huge, but she's looking at the difference between where the color is and where she noticed that the marbling looks a lot different. And she feels something's a little off, a little funny. I'm looking at my character sheet. There's a sense shadow energy that I have. Can I go ahead and roll for that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
$19.
19. Nice. That was a good roll.
Ooh.
Okay, so also, as you are activating this power, what is your mark? What is Asha's mark?
Ooh.
Her fur goes from like kind of this sandy color to almost that of matching her hair, very blue green, very like water ocean color.
Okay. All right. Yes, so you both watch sort of Asha's form shift a little bit. This sort of color rippling over her fur, almost like descending down in waves from the top of her head as she closes her eyes. You reach out, feeling the energy sort of align inside you, feeling that connection to the sort of shifting entropic nature of shadow. And you feel this very weird amalgam of different energy configurations in front of you. So since you're specifically paying attention to like the different patches that are lustrous and non-lustrous, you feel in the lustrous patches, the normal, what you would expect of like, this was living tissue, it is now being broken down into its component pieces by shadow and will eventually drift away into nothingness. But when you reach the sort of rigid pieces, it sort of abruptly changes and you feel a space that has been like sucked dry of the body energy and any of the remaining spirit energy that would normally inhabit this creature. And even the shadow there, it's not the sort of natural pattern of, oh, this is sort of dissolving this organism naturally shadow. It is more of it's like the equivalent of walking into a like mole burrow. There's just all these like paths that have been rammed through this creature of this, and there's just sort of this debris left in its wake. That's really the best way you can think to characterize it. It's unorganized, it's unnatural, it's chaotic and messy.
The other one that I have is recognize shadow power. Can I go ahead and roll that again, or?
Sure. So recognize shadow power is usually channeled to like somebody would be able to recognize that you're, channeling your detect shadow energy ability. But you can use it here to get a sort of idea of the form of what's happening.
$16.
16. Okay. So the sort of fur ripples through these oceanic colors again. You reach out. Immediately what you sense is that this is something that is something some entity has done. This is not a naturally occurring thing, and it is not of the same form as any shadow power you have previously seen or studied. Even with shadow, which is sort of the dissipatory, chaotic, entropic energy by nature, there's always an order to how shadow powers themselves are activated. This is more like somebody put a wrecking ball through the side of a building and a building made of shadow, and then this is like what remains. I have very good metaphors.
So you notice Asha stepping back a little bit. Everything's kind of, coming back to her, and she turns to you and she goes, "This is not okay. I'm an Umbrist. I've never felt anything like this before. There's the colors where it is still decaying normally. Everything there feels right. But this darker, harder shell where there's no color, it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's not a natural form of shadow. Something did this to it. It's destructive. It's hard and rough. I've never seen this before, but there's something very definitely disparate between the two halves."
I see. Well, we have no idea what could have caused this thing, right?
Not sure at all. Again, this is not something that is an Umbrist I've seen before. Oh, it's almost like it just feels wrong, like a wrong form of shadow. I don't know.
I see. Well, this is a lot to take in. Something like this. Maybe maybe let's continue our lap around the creature. I mean, if it's like this, and are we at the end of the creature yet?
So I think just because you have sort of stopped to take in this particular section, you're about halfway down now, maybe a little more than.
And I feel like it might be wise if we just completed our lap. Maybe investigated a little bit more. Maybe there's some clues at the end, or even at the beginning. Yeah, that sounds best. Tora, what do you think?
I might as well get as much information as we can before heading back, because maybe they'll know something more. But like, it's weird down here in general. No, there might be a chance no one knows.
That's fair. All right. Well, let's along Z, as some people say, and let's go. Let's continue on. Yes.
It's a very strange dialect. I've never heard of
What language is that?
You shush your face.
that. Says toilets. Okay. So you guys sort of continue to walk along the side of it. Where are you specifically trying to go?
The inn, I guess, where the so if the colors are slowly seems like they're returning on this part of the creature, want to see if like they're even more fuller, or there might be some more clues at kind of the end of the tentacles.
Okay. So as you trace your way down towards the very tip of the creature, so to speak, you eventually reach where the tentacles are sort of left trailing against the floor of the lung. And you again have to appreciate just how enormous this creature is. Even the like very tips of the tentacles are like as thick around as your thigh, if not bigger. And your thigh specifically, toilets, not like your thigh. Big thighs.
Yeah, I'm thick.
And you notice, like, just because you're inspecting it for this specifically, these bits also do seem the same sort of drab as the front. The more vibrant pieces seem to be concentrated closer to the center, it seems like.
Well, I am no expert, but maybe the mouth is this way. Kind of. We can check that out. Maybe it ate something.
Eventually. Let's go.
Can definitely check it out. I don't know if it's something, but definitely not.
Yeah. All right. Let's. What are their mouths like, Asha?
I think I would probably have to roll scholarship on this one.
Yeah, you can roll if you want. I think just because it's a relatively well-known thing, you would probably know the basics of it, but roll scholarship. I'll say if you get very low, you'll be like, oh.
Mouth like.
There's just like a human mouth at the end of this. Like, oh my god, I know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, that's when the DM doesn't know.
I got an 8.
An 8? Okay. You're not super clear on anatomy. If it's anything like most of the other creatures of this nature you know about, it's probably some sort of like beak or something, not like a mouth with teeth, really.
So I can tell you that I'm not very good with the anatomy and things like that, but it's definitely got the beak going on, probably.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess it's this way. Let's go check it out. Be thorough on this, and afterwards, we can head back.
And Tora, you know it is a beak. You're like, yes, that is true. Okay.
We
Let's
head
do this.
towards the beak.
All right, so you guys begin to sort of pick your way through the tentacles, trying to make your way sort of inside this almost small cavernous space that's formed from the droop of its tentacles over the floor of the lung. I want each of you to roll me an athletics check, just to sort of scramble over and under and through the gaps in these tentacles.
I'm super good at that.
I'll suck at it.
9.
9. All right.
19.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Toilet strikes again.
I keep thinking you're just saying toilet.
That's what I realized after naming him. I'm like, oh no.
Well, because at first it was toilets, and I was like, that makes sense.
This is slowly shifting the toilets.
And sorry, Asha, what was yours?
11.
11? Okay. So it's good that you rolled high toilets, because you are going to need the highest roll to do this, because you are just very big. You're going to have to squeeze through some pretty tight spaces. But you managed to, with like a little bit of muscle and a little bit of coordination, just squeeze and slip through the spaces between some of these tentacles. You, Asha, do so without much difficulty, just kind of like whoop, sliding through the various places, waiting somewhat patiently for the others to follow. And Tora, you managed to do so as well, but with your roll, you do get a little scraped up. Your sort of thin Zuegen physiology is relatively well adapted for this, but there's some tight corners that you sort of get caught on. So just take 1 wound for me from that.
Okay.
You're getting banged up.
I know, right?
Oh, this is ridiculous. Got it.
Cool. But eventually, you all make it sort of inside. Now, it's worth mentioning at this point that the lung proper is lit by this sort of ambient light from the sphere. It is not glaring, like it is not like a spotlight in any way. It is a specially evoker-made light diffusion source. So it just sort of dissipates the light nicely throughout the air. It's actually kind of weird, because like if you look down, you don't have any shadows at any point, which is unsettling. Even like when you lift your feet, there's no shadows beneath them. Except when you get inside this creature, the ambient light doesn't seem to have penetrated within the confines of this sort of cavern area. And it's very eerie, just walking along these sort of long, hardened and squishy stalks of tentacles in the sort of darkness dappled with the warmer light provided by the diving bell. It is very reminiscent of, like, perhaps in our world, walking through like a redwood forest, where there's all these just giant structures sort of occluding the light, but it shines in slits and bands from the side, and you see it sort of like coloring the landscape, but not illuminating completely. As you walk, there's this sort of loud echo of each one of your footfalls. And I want each one of you to make me a perception check.
No.
9.
9?
Can't roll above 10.
Hey.
I got a
14.
5.
14? 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So none of you notice anything particularly out of the ordinary. Asha, paying attention, you do sort of pick up on the intermittent squishiness and stiffness of the material, and you do notice as you walk closer to the central area, for lack of a better word, the flesh does seem to be more squishy than warm, and there's even like a faint whiff of decomposition, which is almost comforting. Eventually, after a couple minutes of walking, you come to a sort of stop where all the tentacles slide into and join the body, and between them there is an enormous beaked maw, kind of hanging partly open.
Tell to dare you to go inside.
What? I don't think I would fit. I am quite large. You, Asha, are quite small. I might be able to hold open the beak for you, and maybe you could just take a gander, and then
It's about 5 feet in diameter. You could probably fit in. You wouldn't be able to stand up.
You want me to go in the thing's mouth?
I mean, it's dead. So, should be fine.
Should be. There's
Well, it's for scientific reasons. I mean, if we're going to get to the bottom of this, yeah. Don't worry, I'm a mystic, so if something occurs, I can help you somewhat.
okay, I guess we're doing this. Sure. And she backs up and waits for Trilix to open up the beak.
And
Okay.
I'll try to.
All right, so make an athletics check.
Yes. 9.
9. So it's not that difficult. The beak is already partly open. You sort of put one foot on the bottom part and put your hands on the top and just like you hear some like straining and a little bit of like snapping and crumbling as some of the like more petrified parts of the beak appear to break a little bit under the strain.
Uh-oh.
Overall, though, it's quite rubbery. It's like a really big, really tough resistance band. You're able to hold it open for long enough to Asha to sort of slip in. But once she's in, you sort of, and it doesn't close completely behind you, but it's like closed enough that it would be a little difficult to sort of squeeze your way out.
Alright, cool, you can go now.
Asha, are you okay? Is everything okay in there?
Fine. Just fine.
All right. Do let us know if you see anything. We'll be right here.
Okay. And do you, as a Wellan, have dark vision? It does not look like you do. It would be on the 3rd page under racial traits for reference. All right. So I think one of you does have a lantern of some sort, at least one of you.
Yeah, we would have thrown her in a lantern at least.
Just she gets in, she's like, guys, I can't see it.
It's dark as fuck.
Guys.
I
Yeah.
agree to this.
Yeah, I have a flask and oil, flint and steel, and a lantern. And I give her a
Okay,
shovel
great.
just in case.
Okay. You see like this beefy arm sort of slide through the opening in the beak, dropping like a flask of oil, you assume, and like a lantern, some flint and steel, and then just like, what was the last thing you
A
said?
shovel.
A shovel. Just this like 5-6 foot long shovel that's like bigger than you are, just clang, 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 it just falls to the floor.
Just in case.
Supposed to do with a shovel?
I don't know. There might be some digging required. It's better to have a shovel when you need it than to not have a shovel and desperately desire it.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell you where you can put your shovel. Anyway,
Was that sarcasm again, Tora?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry for offending you. You could send the shovel back if you prefer. I'm sorry. I have a torch.
no, just ignore me, I guess. All right, let's see here.
Best of luck.
Thanks. Should I roll a perception check?
So are you heading down? There's sort of this like winding, rough, esophageal passageway in front of you.
Yes.
I don't like the word esophageal.
Is it better or worse than maw?
Just, I'm gonna Google image that, see what happens.
So you light up the lantern, holding it sort of aloft in front of you. And what do you get for your check?
10.
10? Okay. So yeah, being inside at this point, you definitely feel the sort of squishy sponginess of the flesh beneath you. It feels almost comforting, but it's also pretty disgusting. Being inside a decomposing creature, the smell is definitely stronger in here. As you move forward, 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes go by. The tunnel begins to sort of wind back and forth, back and forth. And after another like 5 minutes or so of walking, you come upon what appears to be a large cavern with a pool of what looks like cloudy water lying on the floor.
Oh, guys, this is so gross. So gross. Oh, God.
We hear her.
Not really. You hear like faint echoes, but the voice is so distorted by the actual tunnel that all you hear is that she's saying something or making noise.
She's probably fine.
I feel like we should maybe check up. Do you want me to open the beak and let you in, Tora?
No?
Well, maybe you can open it for me and I can squeeze in.
Yeah, I don't think I should go in. I don't think I can lift it up. I am a weak, wiry person.
All right. Well, let's try. Let's try to get in nonetheless. Come on. And I'll try to open up the thing and try to get in and.
All right. Make another athletics check.
Come on. 20.
Ooh.
There you go. So you just feeling so bad about like your interaction with Asha, like making her feel bad and like not opening it enough. You just like are sort of just going in on yourself, thinking these thoughts as you push, and you just exhale all that stress into one giant like press, and you hear this like snap, and the top half of the beak, which formerly had been like rubberly springing back into place, just sort of like snaps upward an extra like foot or two. And just becomes loose. Like you could just kind of wiggle it around and move freely now.
I'm like Terry Crews. My pecs are bouncing. The power. We're coming, Asha. I'll slip in, pulling out my torch, but wishing I didn't throw my flint and steel to Asha.
And Asha, as these two disappear into the same sort of dark passageway, I would like you to make a perception check for me. 18. Nice. Okay. So you're sort of standing on the edge of this cloudy pool of whatever liquid this is. when you notice a like very faint ripple emanating from just in front of you, you look a little bit closer. You hold the your lantern up, and you see one of as the sort of like rough, kind of purpley gray internal flesh of the Marblin dips into this pool. You see it start to harden a little bit, the color beginning to drain out as it bulges slightly above the rest of the flesh. And then you see this bulge just move ever so slightly, moving towards you. It begins to grow, almost as if the flesh of the Marblin itself is sort of rising up, but into this like amorphous puddle of goo. The puddle begins to pool out of this ground-like substance onto the floor. And finally there's a like thick pile of this fleshy goop resembling that same texture and color of the vibrant purple of the Marblin skin. And this form begins to slowly rise from it. A thick sort of torso, 2 appendages hanging down on either side that you could call arms if you were feeling generous, and a sort of trunk of body. It stands there for a moment just looking at you. And then it sort of begins to ooze towards you slowly.
So I'm going to immediately start backing up. Do I know that they come in? Like, do I hear them at all?
Make a perception check.
Well,
you do hear them, like you hear them yelling out, but you can't make it out well enough to actually get the words from it. There's just all these twists and turns in the tunnel, and the walls themselves are so rough that the sound like rebounds upon itself so many times that it becomes indistinguishable.
but I do have the sense that they're in there, right?
It sounded like they at least yelled into it. You're not sure if they're coming to where you are.
Do I happen to know what this thing is?
Roll scholarship.
$15?
So, this does seem in some ways reminiscent of the Hollow Men that I was explaining to Tora earlier. It definitely seems like it's some sort of creature that absorbs its surroundings, but it doesn't, whereas the Hollow Men are sort of intentionally going out and saying, this is what my surroundings look like, I'm going to adapt this form in order to be unrecognized. This seems like it's sort of just absorbing the form of whatever it comes into contact with. This is not, as far as you know, any type of creature that has been cataloged in the guild's knowledge.
Hello? Can you speak?
It just sort of like continues to like slump towards you. The arms themselves don't reach out, but like the upper section of the torso, that like chunk of body, what you could consider the chest, I guess, there's not really a neck or head, begins to sort of like bulge out and like reach toward you a little bit.
Nope, nope, nope.
Give it a hug.
No. Bad touch. Bad touch.
Bad touch.
I'm trying to think what I would do. Like, there's only so much I can back up, and I don't know that I necessarily want to attack it because I don't know that it's got bad intentions. I mean, personally, it seems like a whole lot of bad intentions, but huh. I don't know. It's stuck. I guess keep backing up, and I'm probably gonna try to yell to them. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily gonna reach, but hey guys, this there's something down here. Help would be nice. I don't know what it is. It looks really weird, and it is advancing. Help!
So I think you guys are close enough at this point, probably about halfway there, that you can make out most of what she's saying. You get the gist.
Yeah, I feel like we were walking, like, and I'm like talking to Tora, like, you know, when we get back, I would really love some herbal tea, maybe with a spot of lemon, and I really have.
Honey?
No, I don't like honey. No. Yeah, but you know, I did bring some things from my region, and you know, I'm really excited about that. And then like we hear the noise, and we're like, did that sound like she wanted help or something?
Yeah, we probably should go help.
All right, come on.
Commence Naruto running.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be Hokage.
Yeah.
It's my ninja way.
That's my Nendo. Okay. Brief interlude. My girlfriend like watched all of Naruto when she was little, and I had not watched any of it. Now we're like watching through it together. It's really good. I really like it.
It's good. It's sad. It makes you cry.
Yeah.
I just like the first few seasons where the animation shit. I know the animation, so I'm just like, oh, this is fantastic. Who paid attention to any of this?
It's so good.
Yeah. So, you guys sort of begin to make tracks down the hall towards Asha. Asha, I want you to roll me another perception check as you're sort of backing away from this creature.
Funny.
20. Nice.
Ooh.
You are backing away and just yelling down the hall, the esophagus, hearing the echoes and the reverberations. You catch another sound that seems out of place, and you whip your head around, and there is another like slight sucking, gross, squelching sound as another one of these creatures emerges from the wall near the doorway.
You made friends.
Ooze down towards the floor, cohering into the same sort of form as the one in front of you.
Oh crap.
They both continue to advance. You're probably
We're-
about
We're Naruto
Fine.
running.
yes.
We're instantly there.
You're probably about 5 feet from the door. You've got one that's about 5 feet in front of you. Sorry, Asha, not you guys. You guys will be there soon.
Yeah.
You've got one that's 5 feet in front of you heading towards you, and another that's sort of at the corner of the door that's starting to form up into some sort of body.
Why is there a door in this guy's mouth?
It's the opening to the esophagus.
You don't have doors in your body? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
Should get
it's
that
probably
checked
like a
out.
sphincter there. Would it be better if I said sphincter instead of door?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it
You have to
would.
really enunciate it.
All sphincters are doors.
Sphincter.
Sphincter.
Feet.
It's a really bad joke in there somewhere, but I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
What would you like to do, Asha?
So at this point, I think there's enough reason for me to be like, it's time to stabby something.
Have we done enough science?
Yeah, I'm done with science. I don't want to die.
Science.
Okay. Are you going to attack?
Yes.
All right. So everyone roll for reaction time.
All right.
We're
Is
going
that
to
also
enter
the
combat.
2d10?
That is the 2d10 plus your perception. So that is sort of how fast you're able to absorb the situation and respond.
I'm bad.
I rolled 10.
I got a
Nice.
6.
These guys will get this number that you don't know.
They got a 20.
Yeah.
My number is 12. I've decided just now.
12 for Tura,
Oh, I got 10.
10 for Asha, and 6 for toilets, you said?
Wait,
Yeah.
Tora got 10. I don't know what Asher got.
Tora got 10, I got 17.
Oh, sorry. Tura
I
got
just say
10.
numbers.
I got
Asha
6.
got 17. Nice.
You guys
Cool.
are so fast.
Yeah, you were a good person to get the good reaction time roll on there. So, the way combat works in Beyonder is pretty different from the way it works in a lot of other games that you may be more used to. So, rather than having a cycle of a round where everyone gets one turn, then you repeat the same thing over again, what we do is combat is sort of like a clock. And I'm a very visual person, so I'll attempt to explain this with visual aids. I'll just use this side. There are 6 segments of the clock. Each segment corresponds to one of these 6 energies. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to randomly choose one of these to be moment 0, and then everyone's going to say, I'm going to do this action. And every action takes some number of moments to complete. Each of these is just one moment. So like toilets, you take a 5-moment action, we start here, so you resolve here. Asha, you take a 2-moment action, you resolve there. Then we start and we go, okay, does anyone resolve in this moment? No. So then we resolve in this moment. Okay, Asha, resolve. Now redeclare your next thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay, we'll walk through it. We'll do it together. It's just, it allows a little more sort of granular control over what happens in combat, who does what when, and it allows to differentiate, I think, in a satisfying way, like, my character is super fast and they're going to do this thing, and also like, I'm going to use this really powerful ability and it takes 5 moments, but it's worth it because it has this awesome effect.
Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to start by randomly determining what moment you start in, which will be body. Now I'm just going to put a little marker on my map there. And everyone, I will say that toilets and Tora, you will be there in 3 moments.
All right.
So everyone start by declaring what your action is. And actually, we will start with toilets because you have the lowest reaction time.
So her voice sounded fearful, like there's something there. So I guess the moment I come in, I will try to use Protective Spirit on Asha,
Okay.
myself, and Tora.
Okay. And what is the activation time for that?
Let's see. That is. So Protective Spirit activation time is 5.
5. Okay. So I'm going to put you 5 steps ahead in the emotion energy moment on my little wheel here.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Awesome. Okay. Then next will be Tora. What are you going to do?
I'm trying to look at some of these like powers, but
Mhm.
like none of them have a description, so I'm kind of confused at what they do.
Oh. Okay. You're looking about midway through.
Yeah.
If you look down, So that's, I think the part you're looking at is like the power summary, and then in the section below that, there's the full descriptions of all of the powers.
Yeah, if you just go further down on the pre-gen sheet.
Oh, I'm just stupid. Okay.
No, it's a little confusing. These character sheets are pretty hefty, so don't worry about it.
I didn't see it either, Malia. I was actually looking at the book, like cross-referencing everything.
Alright. Okay, I'm looking at group tactics right now.
Okay.
It says as a motion target gets 1/3/6/10 tokens. What does that mean?
Yes, that is a good question. So that sort of leads me into one of the core mechanics of the system. So the first is 2d10. The second is single roll. And that basically means that everything works off of degrees of success. So you don't roll to hit and then roll to determine damage in the same way that you don't roll to activate a power and then roll to see how well it does. You basically roll, compare it to a flat difficulty. So in the case of a power, it might just be 10, or it might be, if you're attacking somebody, their combat defense or their inner defense or something else. And then you just find the sort of difference in basically how much better you did than the number, and that determines your success. So we have 4 different categories you can fall into. Minor is if you beat it by 5 to 1. Moderate is 6 to 15. Major is 16 to 25, and complete is anything more than 25. So when it says A/B/C/D, that's for a minor, moderate, major, and complete success.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lot to throw at you in like 30 seconds. Roll, and I'll like guide you through what happens.
Alright. So what I'd like to do when I get there is to
Yes.
probably, because it should be up front, use group tactics on Asha.
Okay.
I think that's how it is.
Just buff Asha, then we'll leave.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
And that takes 2 moments to activate. Also, there's an activation cost. What do I have to look for at that?
So that is how much fatigue you take when you activate the power.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to do that when I get there eventually.
Okay. So since you're getting there in 3 moments, I'll say you will just resolve it on that moment.
Okay, cool.
Asha, the 2 creatures next to you are going to declare third, and they both sort of wind up. You can see them starting to sort of bubble a little bit, almost on the surface. It's almost like when you put the like cornstarch in the water, and then you put it on top of like a speaker or something, and it makes those like weird shapes. Like that is kind of what they look like, as on the chess pieces that are kind of like thrusting out towards you. It's like kind of burbling in this weird, uncomfortable way. Okay, that is them. And now you get to declare.
I'm looking at a few of these powers. None of them right now look particularly helpful. So I'm trying to understand, because I know it says as far as my talent proficiencies, I have ranged combat. What would I roll kind of to, I guess, attack?
So if you want to make a ranged attack, it's a talent roll. So you roll 2d10 and add your ranged combat bonus, and same for melee attack. What weapons do you have?
So I just looked at the sheet. I don't have weapons, so I guess that wouldn't.
So do you see anything in your inventory? There's nothing there?
You have a shovel.
Yeah.
Should have taken the shovel.
No,
Okay.
No armor, no weapons.
So I think for the purposes of this, oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna say that you have padded armor and you have a size 0 blade. So a sword. I'll say you each have weapons and armor for the purposes of this sort of situation because your characters would have them in a dangerous area like this, or a potentially dangerous one at least. And let me just send you a little screenshot of you. Okay. There's so much junk on my desktop. There it is. But yes, the point being you can make an attack if you desire. Is that what you would like to do?
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't want to go into the chat. All right, that is okay. I will explain to you what is going on. So a melee attack is always going to be a 3-moment action. So I will put you 3 moments ahead on Physic along with Torah, and you will both resolve then. Cool. All right. So it's not really a good way to show you this sort of configuration without spilling all the dice I put on it to mark your guys' stuff. But there is a clock now that has all your pieces on it. So I'm going to start by ticking to moment 1, just shadow. Nobody resolves there. Moment 2, mental. Nobody resolves there as these creatures continue to like bubble and move closer to you, and you start to like bring your sword down for this attack. Moment 3. So in moment 3, we have both Asha and Torah resolving. So Asha, as you have the higher reaction time, you will resolve first. So roll 2d10, add your melee attack.
18.
18. Ooh, nice.
All right. So because this is a tutorial game, I'm going to be a little bit transparent about stats of these creatures. So their combat defense is relatively low, and that will breach the sort of threshold for a moderate success against them. Their combat defense is, their combat defense is 3. So they will have 13 versus your 18, so you will just barely be getting a minor success instead of a moderate. Basically the way we do damage is minor goes to 2, moderate is 5, major is 11, complete is 23. It's a little confusing at first. It's just every step is 2 times the step below it plus 1. So 2 times 5 plus 1, 2 times 2 plus 1 is 5, 2 times 5 plus 1, 11, etc., etc. And then the 3 things that go into damage are the actual effectiveness of the roll, and then your weapons damage. So the blade has a base damage of 5, which is what you're using. And then what is your size?
They're like tiny little things, aren't they?
They're pretty small. Well, and they're pretty small in general, yeah.
What page is that on? Is it on the first one?
Size is on the 2nd page. It's below wounds and fatigue under physicality.
It says size -3.
Okay, so you're pretty small. So the weapon you're using, we're going to assume, is sized to you. So you'll get the 2 from the minor success, the 5 from the blade, but then -3 because it's more like a long dagger than an actual sword. So like if Toilets came in and smacked them with his weapon, that would be like much more hefty because he's just a big dude. So that total will be 7 minus 3 is 4 wounds to this creature. So you sort of carve into the upper flesh of it, your sword kind of rakes off a piece of it. It sort of almost, even as you're carving the blade through it, you feel a force kind of pushing it away from the center of it. But you do manage to like scrape off a bit of the outside, and it splats against the floor. The creature sort of like burbles more intensely and like jiggles, rearing back a little bit.
Gross.
Yeah, pretty gross. Okay, and now what would you like to do next?
Might probably try to attack the next one.
Okay. All right. So I'll put you in for another 3-moment attack action.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And now it is going to be Torah. What would you like to do?
That's me. Did my group tactics thing get put on?
Oh, yes. So this is when you resolve the action that you declared. So just roll for it.
I added 2 to it, looks like. I got 8.
8? Okay. And what is your mark?
My mark?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, it'd be more like a little showing of, you know, like deep sea fish have like a bioluminescence to it that would pop up like with little markings across Torah.
Okay, cool. So you just hacking into this creature, Asha, you look back and you hear like the pattering of feet on, not stone, on like squishy, squamous flesh, on the gross stuff. And you see Torah and Toilets dash around the corner. Torah's sort of neck and like gills and sort of eyes and face lit up with this bioluminescent glow. Unfortunately, you don't, like in the panic of the moment, you don't manage to activate the power successfully. The stars just aren't quite aligned for you right now. So just take the fatigue from that and declare your next action.
How much fatigue am I at?
You can strike off the one you took at the very beginning. That's gone.
Okay, cool. I'm at a solid 4.
Okay, cool. So no penalties yet. That's good.
Almost. Probably next time.
And what do you want to do next?
Sorry, I'm reading more of them, trying to understand what's happening. I think I'll just end up trying the group tactics thing again for Asha, and she's kind of stabbing things.
And that's
a 2-moment.
And that's so you're charismatic, right?
Yeah.
And that's an emotional power. So this is cool. So the 6-faced clock that I showed you earlier is like a representation of what is called a cycle, which is 6 seconds, which is the time that it takes for all the energies to complete a standard like energetic cycle, which basically just means in all places in the world at every moment, all the energies, all 6 of them, pervade the air and are sort of like grappling for dominance. And in every individual moment of that 6-second struggle, one or the other of them will be on top in that miniature pocket of space. So you are resolving yours just at the moment where emotion energy is sort of taking hold. And that means you get a +2 to your actual roll.
Oh,
maybe I'll actually be able to do something.
Yeah.
She won't.
You guys also you each have 1 surge for this adventure. A surge is just a +5. You can use at any point during the session once.
Let's do this.
Cool. Oh, yeah. All right. So that is both of you guys. Now we move on to these 2 creatures who are going to resolve in the spirit moment. So Toilets and Torah, you just sort of round the corner and you see Asha hack into one of these creatures and then immediately be sort of like almost smushed between them as they reach forward and almost try to envelop her, just like you see a couple like tendrils sort of like reach out and like stick onto parts of her.
Uh-oh.
And Asha, you feel this like cold, uncomfortable sensation pervade your body. What is your outer defense?
Yeah, it's on the second page.
Oh yeah,
Bottom
sorry.
right. Underneath defense ratings.
Mhm. It's in the same column as wounds and fatigue.
It was 2.
Oh,
Two.
2.
Okay. Oh, excellent. That is very good for you. So you feel these sort of tendrils like moving along like through your fur and just like squirming up and around like the side of your head and across your like arms, and you feel them sort of begin to stick onto you, and you feel this like cold, uncomfortable pulsing sensation as they begin to sort of like writhe, and you feel the essence of yourself starting to get pulled out, but you sort of like rip yourself out of their grasp, and like just the general hardiness of your physicality prevented them from getting access to actually damage you during that encounter. They will sort of like rear back, and one of them turns to face the two of you at the front. That one is going to sort of begin that weird, gross bubbling again. The other one, the one that you damaged, Asha, is going to turn back to you, and you see its arms begin to like rise up and form into these large blades with like just this club-like mass behind them.
How about they don't?
Good point.
I'm gonna die.
You'll be
Next
fine.
moment is going to be emotion. So, Asha, I will have you resolve there first.
So roll the 2d10s for attack.
And are you attacking the same one or the other one?
The same one.
Okay. What'd you get?
12.
12. So this time, as you like strike your sword down against it, it's sort of one of its like large sword-like arms like contracts into its core a little bit, and a spike of like rigid material shoots out. Like your sword just pings off of it and like skitters to the side. You don't manage to land a hit.
Uh-oh.
And what would you like to do next? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This was you do not resolve until the next moment. My apologies. This is actually Tora who is resolving right now with your group tactics. Yeah, sorry about
Oh,
that.
fuck. You're fired. I'm kidding.
Man, I hope I get some severance at least.
Always.
Okay, so for group tactics, then that means I get a try roll again, and I have an extra +2 because it's on emotion, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Above 10. Oh shit, that's above 10 for once in my fucking life.
Nice.
That's 15.
15, including the +2?
Yeah.
And you're adding on the bonus to roll?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what is the like first of the like 1/2/whatever? Like what's the first number in that thing?
1.
Okay. And what
This is
exactly sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
What exactly does the power do? Can you just tell me the text?
It says emotion target gains 1/3/6/10 tokens that can be spent as a free action to give +1 for each person involved. Any action that requires 2.
Yes. Okay. So basically, you get to give one person a token that they can just use to give a +1 to whatever they're doing, sort of in this fight or in any activity involving you guys working together.
Okay, cool. That happens, I think.
Cool.
Tokens.
Who do you want to give it to?
Asha, 'cause she's just right up there.
Okay, cool. All right. So mark that down, Asha. And what would you like to do next, Tora?
Most of my stuff isn't like damagey stuff, so I'm trying to figure out what the best thing to do is right now.
The shovel.
Give
I
him
don't
the
have the shovel.
Give him the
Shovel
chair.
autograph. Well, I do have a blade. I can just try and stab one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna stab a bitch, or attempt to.
All right. They're non-gendered, so I'm assuming you mean, gender neutral.
It's a gender neutral bitch. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry. I assumed. I just wanted to make sure. At least they're non-gendered that you know of. It's possible they do have gender identity.
I will stab the bitch that looks like it's been stabbed before.
Okay. So you sort of begin to circle past this one that's advancing towards you in toilets, readying your sword. And I'll put you down for 3 moments from now. But you ready? And toilets. What would you like to do?
I get to do something.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sitting here like, God, you're moving so fast. I'm resolving my protective spirit.
Okay. So roll it.
So it is well, it says range touch, but it says 1 yard next to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I affect them as well, or are they within that area?
If you move on this moment to be sort of in between them, you
Yeah.
can do that.
I'll
You're
do
about
that.
equidistant from them then.
Cool. All right, bonus to roll
Okay.
is 1. Let's do
Okay.
this. So I got a 17.
Nice. Okay.
Ooh. Is
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask what the effect is.
Spirit target has all damage dealt to it reduced by 1/2/3/4.
Wow, that is very good. And target is wow. So up to 3 targets. So yeah. So what is your mark?
So you know that sunshine that's on the commercials, the best part of waking up
Mhm.
is Folgers in your cup. So yeah, when I start doing my thing, just like this glowing light of warmth like just erupts from me. And it's nice, and you smell like coffee beans. It's gonna be a good morning.
Do they actually like feel something, or is it just like the warmth and the light?
Ooh, yeah, if they can feel coffee, like they just had a good cup of Joe.
Yeah. Okay, so you each wrapped up in your various combats, you, Asha, still shaking off the like disgusting feeling of these creatures like trying to drain your very essence from you, and Tora like readying yourself in this very stressful situation where you probably have never really fought something in something as high stakes as this before. You just feel this sort of like calm touch your heart, and you look over and you see Toilets just sort of smiling gently, this like warm glow emanating from him. And thanks to that quite good roll, you each have all damage dealt to you reduced by 2 for the next 5 minutes.
Heckin' nice.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
coffee you
that's
taste,
awesome.
it's like salted caramel. Like it's mostly cream with like a little bit of coffee. Mostly cream and sugar.
Can't relate. You know I make coffee as my job.
Yeah, you don't know. Well, stop that. It's was it unicorn frappuccino?
Mm.
So much.
did look pretty amazing, let's be honest.
Yeah, I got it, and then I wanted to get it again.
Yeah.
It's like, you give me that unicorn. I love it because they were like, "Do you believe in magic?" And I said, "Yes, I do."
Dude, no.
When you work at Dunkin' Donuts and not Starbucks. I never had to make that one, and I'm very okay with it.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you like to do next, Toilets? Gonna push these guys? Take 'em down the
Yeah,
drain?
let's do this. So I get my like little stick out. It's already out, but I get it even
Okay.
more out, and I'm gonna approach one of these and smack it upside the face.
Okay, okay, we don't need to declare that until you actually resolve your attack. And now it is going to be the next moment, so you get to resolve Asha.
So I'm going to roll.
Yeah, that was your attack.
$15.
15. All right. So that does another minor success. So the 2 from the minor success plus the 5 from the blade is 7, minus the 3 from your size is 4. And then just for mechanical transparency, it has a soak of 1. So it reduces all damage it takes by 1 down to a minimum of 1. So it takes 3 damage from that hit. You like chop off another just chunk of its matter, splattering against the wall next to it, taking like a little bit, like a third to a half out of one of its sword arms, beginning to like swing towards you. Okay, so that one's starting to get damaged.
Yeah.
So it is now at 6 wounds. So it will start to take penalties to all the stuff it does, which is very good for you guys.
Yay!
Yeah,
We did.
and
thing.
you did the thing. And Asha, what would you like to do next?
Out of curiosity, how close am I to, like, it wouldn't be a wall, but something behind me that I can possibly climb on?
Climb on. Not more than like a yard or 2 away.
Okay.
You're pretty close to the sphincter.
Okay. I'm going to use walk on walls, which
Okay.
is
Ooh.
2-moment activation time.
Okay. Excellent. I'll put you down for 2 moments from now. So that is going to be it for the body moment. Let's move on to shadow. And this is when the thing that is attacking you, Asha, is going to resolve its attack. So it swings down this sort of, this large blade. What is your combat defense? That should be in the same place as your like outer defense that you were looking at earlier.
Ooh, it is 5.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so cool.
Yeah, you are. So yeah, larger creatures have higher soaks. Smaller creatures have higher combat defenses because they're harder to hit. Once you hit them, they take more damage. So you just sort of nimbly sidestep out of the way as this large kind of blocky creature swings its arm down at you, crashing into the floor. You see like a small crack emerge where this kind of like a bladed club slams into the floor. You just sort of kind of back away, continuing to focus your energy and placing 1 foot on the wall in preparation. It is going to try again.
Don't do it.
It probably won't. These guys have been rolling pretty poorly.
Yes.
But now that you said that,
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so everyone except that 1 creature actually resolves in this moment. So let's start with Asha, because she is at the top of the stack.
Okay, so I'm doing the walk on walls. What do I roll for? The 2d10s?
Yes.
$12.
12. Okay, so that is going to be a successful activation. So, walk on walls. Okay, so you gain 1 token that you can use to run, walk, or stand on the walls for 1 moment. So you can do like an overhead pass by or something. You will not be able to like just stand on them indefinitely. But you can basically do like a Prince of Persia style like wall run or something like that. Where it's
So-
like it's just the point where it's sort of defying the laws of physics.
So basically, my idea is to be able to get behind it so it stops attacking.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And if you would like to, you can use that now to sort of get around it, get on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you sort of just dodging out of the way of this like big bladed club that cracks into the ground. You actually just jump straight onto the wall, channeling this power as you do. Your sort of fur going through that ripple of various shades of blue and aquamarine. And you both see her, you like Tora and Toilets, just see her jump, place her feet on the wall, tick, 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 run up, run over the ceiling, and then like curl and jump and just like skid a little bit, landing in the like classic 3-point superhero stance on the other side of the creature.
That's her ninja way. She used all her chakras.
Yes. And you and Tora are actually now flanking this creature. So you will get a bonus to your attack because of that, Tora.
Ooh, nice.
But first, Asha, what would you like to do next?
Attack.
Okay, great. Attack. Asha. I'll put you 3 ahead. All right, now the creature is going to go. So this is not the one between Toilets. Sorry, not the one between Asha and Tora, but the one between Tora and Toilets that has kind of been doing the bubbling, burbling thing. Fudge Pops. Oh, jeez, this is terrible. This is a 2 and a 4.
Pops.
Come on, guys.
I mean,
I didn't-
who's it attacking?
So it is. It's sort of an area of effect. What is the outer defense of everyone, or of Tora and Toilets?
-2.
-2.
Outer defense, 0.
Okay. So, just like the other 2 did before, this thing, just these weird snaking tendrils just shoot out of it in like all directions, specifically aiming for you two. Tora, you managed to sort of shrug it off, kind of slapping away the tendrils, and like the ones that grab onto you can't really find purchase. Toilets, these sort of just like stick into your fur and just take hold, and you feel this cold, draining sensation. As what color did you say your fur was?
It's like a dull orange.
A dull orange.
Mhm.
So the patches of fur around where these tendrils connect begin to like just kind of go from standing up straight to like kind of curling in on themselves and turn this like kind of paler orange, fading to even a white at the points of contact. And you see this orange color shoot along the tendrils of the creature, pieces of fur like bristling out at random parts. And the patches where the tendrils connect to the body begin to cover with the same sort of texture that's on your body. So take 3 fatigue from that.
Oh, jeez. I know. I'm in the second part, so I'm taking -2 to all actions.
Yes, if this is, yeah, because of your fatigue.
Yeah, because I took 4 from my activation of the spirit protection, and then 3 from this.
Yep, yep.
And soak only applies to damage, right?
Soak only applies to damage. Yes.
Oh God, no!
Yeah. Yeah, you're so big.
I feel like this is like a purple nurple. Just like,
You're too thick for your own good.
too thick.
So it is going to, retracting those back into its body, it begins to eject the same sort of bladed clubs that the other one has and begins to make an attack. I have 2 people left. So we have Tora. Why don't you resolve your attack, I believe it was?
Yeah. It was on the one that's already been hit.
Mm-hmm.
What bonus would I get to hitting with like a bladed weapon? Like, or is it just a straight roll?
It's a roll, and you add your melee combat talent.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's 0. Oh, I'm actually at a penalty because of my fatigue. So.
Okay, so -2
Yeah.
then.
2.
Oh dear.
I tried
So-
really hard.
You
That
did.
count?
You really did. You just come in. You're just so like shook by this whole situation. You sort of swing, and it just sort of like sticks straight into the side of the creature. You do this like one-handed baseball bat swing and just sticks in, and just sort of like kind of grinds to a halt, and just sort of stays there for a sec. You like panic at this moment of like, oh shit, oh fuck, and you like manage to pull the blade out with a sucking sound. There's bits of like goo still on it. You don't appear to do any damage though.
Uh-oh.
Gross. Cool.
And what would you like to do next?
I'm gonna attempt to stab it again eventually.
Okay.
Next turn.
All right. Someday.
Hopefully it'll be better.
One day.
Okay. I'll put you on the next 3 moments from now. And toilets. You were making an attack as well, I believe.
Yeah. So actually, could it be part of a charge? Well,
Sure. Yeah.
Sweet. So I'm angry at this person who just like took my fur, my beautiful,
Bad
my
touch.
beautiful, yeah. And I'm like, "Roar!" And I just like aim my horns at him to try to just like impale him
Okay.
with my horns.
All right.
All right, come on. I have a -2 to close combat.
Okay.
Yeah, that -2 on top of your -2 because of fatigue.
Oh gosh.
You're welcome.
I got
I'm
a
not the only one that
1.
gets to roll.
You got a 1?
I got a
Oh boy. I got a rock. So you actually do something very similar to what Tura just did. You like lower your horns. You're like filled with this like righteous indignation and fury, and you like, paw your hoof against the ground and just break into this run, this like yell echoing from your body, and just sort of like squish like into this creature, and just sort of your horns don't really stab into anything. It's more like you're headbutting like a tub full of pudding, but like really firm pudding. And you try and pull out, and your head is just sort of like stuck a little bit there. I actually want you to roll me an athletics check, since that was a 1, which is pretty bad.
14.
14. Okay, so you do manage to like kind of twist your neck and put your hands against this creature's torso and like with a like sucking popping sound just free your head from it and like stumble back a little bit. You don't appear to have done any damage though.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay. And what would you like to do next?
Try again.
Okay. Try again. All right. And as you each prepare to sort of launch a fresh assault at these creatures, let's take a short break just to
Yeah,
water
perfect.
ourselves.
Yeah, we will be back in 7 minutes.
Why 7?
I always do 7 because 5 is always short. It's like you do something and then you're like back and it's gone.
You come back in 5
true.
minutes and you have 2 minutes to get ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So 7 minutes starting now. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Everyone, we are back from our epic combat that you guys did not see as we were enjoying our break. But now let's get back to this epic combat.
Yes. Okay. So there you are in the what appears to be the stomach cavity of this Marblin, squaring off against these 2 strange amorphous blob-like creatures. And the next to go is actually one of these creatures who's going to be making an attack on you, Toilets. It rolls, possibly my first good roll of the game. My first above average roll of the game. What is your combat defense?
That's outer, right?
So combat is different from inner, outer, and
Oh yeah. Oh
its own
god.
thing.
It's -5.
-5.
would you let that happen?
Wowzers.
I'm,
Wowie zowie.
I'm thick.
He is thick. All right, so it rolled an 11, plus its melee combat talent of 3 is going to be a 14, compared to you just add a 10 to your defense ratings to get the number to compare to.
Oh.
That's a 14 compared to your 5 is going to be 9, which gives it a moderate success. And then I will add into that its damage, which is actually not very good. It's 1, but I'm just going to make it a little higher because otherwise you guys are just going to wreck these little dudes.
Yeah, I think you should let us do that.
I think you'll be all right. So let's say, let's switch that up to a 3, and so that is 8 damage against you as it sort of like manages to like pierce into your chest with one of it's not even like one of the arms sort of like come down and you manage to like put your arms up and kind of block them, and then these like few spears just like out of its chest and like stab into your midsection. So that's 8 damage. What is your soak?
So base is 3, but then I got a +2 from the thing I did, so I
Yeah.
take 3 damage.
3 wounds.
And I'm like,
Alright.
oh no. Oh no.
Oh dear.
God.
And it is going to make another attack.
Oh, don't.
So let us now switch into the next moment. And we're going to start with Asha again. I believe you're resolving an attack.
Yay! 16.
Nice. And you're attacking the one that is wounded?
Yes.
Okay. So that is going to be a minor success. So another 4 wounds as you carve another piece out of this dude. It's starting to look relatively like damaged. Like you can see the mass that it has lost. Sort of from its form. Like you look over between it and the other one that is undamaged, and you see like a difference of about like 1.5 feet in terms of height. And next move, another attack.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is Tora.
It's me. I am resolving an attack.
Okay.
This is the wounded one still.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
So my leather armor gives 3 soak.
Oh.
I don't know. Was the sheet automatically calculating that into it, or do I need to add that on top of what I have? Because I'm size 3. I forget if size adds
Yeah.
to soak.
No, size does add to soak. So yeah, you should really have taken 1 wound from that.
All right.
Yeah, you're a pretty big, beefy dude.
Yeah, these
The
nipples,
biggest.
they don't bounce.
Don't talk about your nipples.
That's what he went
You're-
after. He went after.
No. Oh God, no.
It's like twisted
All right.
him.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
So I rolled. I know how to math. I rolled a 13, but -2 is 11.
But +2 for the flanking.
Ooh.
So it's 13.
So it's 13. Still just barely misses because its combat defense is 13. So it just manages to sort of like weave out of the way as you swing your sword at it.
I'm trying my best.
What do you want to do next?
I want to try and hit it again.
All right.
One day.
Someday. You're gonna end up like critting and like destroying this thing or something.
Yeah, please.
Then next will go the one that you guys have been attacking. So it is going to take a swing at you, Asha, since you've been the one carving chunks out of it.
Just watch
that is-
Asha fight.
is going to be a 16 to hit. So your combat defense is what again?
5.
Okay, so that just barely gives you a minor wound. So that is going to be 5 wounds from the 2 base from the minor, plus 3 from its base damage. And then just subtract your soak from that.
-3.
Okay. Excellent. So 2 wounds total. As it sort of like hacks this arm against you, sort of you raise up your sword to block it, and it sort of like splats over the edge of the sword to slam into your back, and sort of like retracts, ripping across your back as it does. And it will redeclare another attack. And then last but not least, toilets. I believe you were attacking again. So
Yeah.
roll.
Let's do this. Ooh, I think I did good. Let's double check.
Not a 1.
Yeah, it wasn't a 1. I got a 16.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And that will be a minor success. So let's do this math here. So minor success is 2 wounds. Plus, what is your size?
Size is 3.
So that's plus 3. Plus the blade is 5. So that's 10 wounds total.
Woo.
Yeah. And I will subtract its soak from it, but that is only a measly 1. So you take this sword. You still have like a little bit of it dripping down from your horns, and it's just really icks you out. It's like, this is the opposite of, the morning coffee feel. This is like stepping into like wet socks in the morning. And you just like take this sword and like you cut off like a whole one of its arms and take off a good chunk of the meat of the torso with it, which all just sort of falls to the floor and begins to fall apart in like a mess of goo, just sort of falling into the ground with no more coherence to hold it together. It stumbles back a little bit and gives a weird like burbling tremor. It can't really make noise, like it doesn't have a noise making organ, but you can see like its body reacting to the hit you gave it.
Yeah, Toilets is like, oh yes, I did it.
Yes. And what would you like to do next?
Smack it again.
All right, smacking it again. And that is everyone on this moment. So let's tick around. Next moment is going to be Shadow. And one of the others is going to go then. Going to attack you again. Toilets, being that you just took such a big chunk out of it. Roll pretty well, which is good.
No.
But it does have a -1 from its damage, or sorry, a -2 from its damage. So I rolled a 13, plus 3 for its combat, -2 for the damage is 14. But compared to your -5, that's still a moderate success. That will be the same deal, another 8 wounds to you.
All right, so I soak all but one of it.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like keeps pelting you with these like powerful hits, but between your like thick armor and your fur and the sort of power that you activated earlier, that you can feel these like spiritual entities sort of guarding you against the most dangerous bits of the damage. You're like barely getting hurt at all. You've got like a little blood coming out.
Please stop. This is quite terrifying, actually.
Yeah, it's not hurting you much, but it is very unsettling.
It's gross.
And next moment, we're going to start with Asha again.
I believe I'm resolving an attack.
Yes, I believe you're all resolving attacks.
16.
16. All right. That will definitely hit, and that is another minor success. You're just chipping away at these guys.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So like
Can't relate.
looking over it, you see like the damage that Toilets has done with his one powerful strike, but you also see that like over the 4, I think, hits now you've given this creature, It's just every hit has just been like taking away a little bit of mass, like a little bit at a time, and it's gotten to the point where it's starting to form this like kind of like dwarf size, pretty small shape. It's getting to be around the size of Tora, actually. Sorry, no, it's getting to be about the size of you. You are the Wellen here. Okay, and next move.
Probably another attack.
All right, cool. And next is going to be the creature. It's going to make an attack at you, Asha, and retribution. That is going to be... No, it is just so heavily damaged at this point. Like it swings one of these like clubs at you again, but it's just lacking the mass now to really put the oomph behind it. And you just sort of easily smack it out of the way with your sword. Try again in a little bit. Actually, this creature, seeing this fail, is going to sort of begin to like slurp and like sludge itself just back away from you, and you see it beginning to sink back into the floor. And Tora, you're up.
It's me. I am resolving the stabs. I'm the one that's sinking into the floor, right?
You are fighting the other one. Or
The
you can
other
actually fight either. You're like in the middle of the two. I'm picturing like a line that's like toilets, one of them Tora, the other Asha. More or less.
I will try and hit the one that's going to the floor then.
Okay.
And that's
Cool.
still with the flanking bonus then?
Yep, +2.
Cool. 4?
4. No, I'm
I
sorry.
rolled 2 ones on the die.
Wow, you've been getting terrible rolls today. I'm sorry.
Just brutally murder my character. Get it over with. Can't even handle themselves.
Yeah, you just like swing wildly. It kind of clangs or like squishes against the floor of the Marblin body, sending up a little bit of whatever this murky fluid is.
I'm not built for this.
Would you like to attack again?
I'll certainly try.
You will certainly try. Okay. And Twilis.
Yeah, let's do it. 4. Oh, God. I got a 7.
7? Yeah, that's gonna miss as well. This thing sort of dodges out of the way, like its stomach retracting a little bit as your sword goes through that part of its body.
Asha, save us.
You're the only competent one.
No, I'm just tiny and scrappy, apparently.
Would you like to make another attack?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So physic. That's the end of the mental moment. Now physic moment. Nothing happens. Spirit. The one that you just swung at, Toilets is going to swing back at you.
Don't do it.
That is going to hit. That's going to be another moderate. So another 1 wound as this thing continues to like ping, ping, ping against you. And seeing how the tide is turning, apparently, this thing is going to follow the cue of its whatever its relation to this other thing is and begin to sort of melt back into the floor. Okay, now you are up again in the next moment, Asha. This one in front of you is just about disappeared into the floor. The other one is less so, but you can make a choice about which one you want to attack. The one just in front of you is more damaged.
I mean, it would probably be much harder to hit that one if it's already like disappearing.
It's not going to be any more difficult to do it. It might do a little less damage.
All right, I'll go for the other one then.
Okay, cool.
17?
That'll definitely hit. Yes, that'll definitely hit. And that will be actually... Are you including the flanking bonus?
No.
Okay. So I actually remembered it's not a +2, it is a +4 flanking bonus. So the flanking works. You can have up to 4 creatures attacking one of the same size with melee weapons. For every creature beyond the first, for every creature, you get a +2 bonus. So if there are 2 creatures, you get +4. If there are 3, you get +6. If there's 1, you don't get plus anything, because it's just 1. But it is +4, which moves your success to a moderate, and that will do the 5 damage plus the 5 from your blade minus your 3. So that is going to be 7. And yeah, you just sort of, as this creature is beginning to sink into the floor, you take your sword and you sort of like straight down the middle of the remaining mass and just flick with your wrist and like send, like scraping along the floor and sending that entire like piece of it just like splattering away. The rest of it just sort of withers, like falls to the ground.
Yeah.
And that one appears to be out of the fight. Boom, boom. Okay. And that was the less damaged one you were attacking, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the other one sinks into the floor before the rest of you manage to finish your actions or resolve your actions and actually swing at it. So a couple like sword points come down, just squishing into the soft flesh of the Marblin. But you are now out of combat.
Oh, well.
We should go.
Is everyone all right? Are we all okay? That was terrifying. What were those?
I don't know, but I vaguely recall somebody saying something like, "Oh no, go ahead and go in. It'll be fine. It's all fine. It's fine."
Look, I am sorry. Could never have anticipated or expected such things to come out of. They like stole my color, and I kind of like brush off my white fur. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Would my character would have been able to put the 2 and 2 between these creatures and like I forgot what you called the other ones, honestly.
The Hollow Men.
Yes. Or at least be able to observe enough to be like, that's kind of fucking weird.
In what way do you mean?
Like, just trying to figure out what these creatures are.
Make a scholarship check. Do you mean trying to place them in creatures you already know, or trying to figure out like from first principles?
Both.
Okay.
All of
I
it.
rolled 11.
They're not really much like anything you've ever heard of. They seem to be some sort of like parasitic organism that feeds off of energy. Seems like maybe off of spirit energy and some of the other energies. You're not sure of much beyond that.
Do we have a flask or something that we could take samples of these things?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll bend over with my hands, like just carefully, with like my staff, put them in the flask and put a stopper on it.
All right, yeah. You have a couple little vials of these creature bits.
Well, I think it's best we return to the group. Maybe let them know about this new type of parasite.
Yeah, probably.
And as you say that, you actually notice a couple more of these squishy bulges beginning to emerge along the walls.
Nope.
Looks like 3 or 4. Okay.
Yeah, let's nope the fuck out of there.
Yeah, nope.
Everyone, arms behind your backs for increased speed.
Yes. Lower the drag.
Wow.
So you guys make tracks pretty quickly out of there. You notice on the run back, there are a couple parts where each of you feel your feet squish into something that you're pretty sure isn't just the flesh of the Marblin. And that just sort of redoubles your efforts as you feel your boots like almost stick into these things, and then like with a pop, you manage to pull them out. you emerge back into the cavernous space between the legs or the tentacles of the Marblin and manage to, with a little bit of scraping and crawling, make your way back into the relative peace and safety of the diffuse ambient light of the diving bell.
Is everyone okay?
Physically, yes. Mentally, no. That was
All
fucking
right.
no.
Define okay, because I'm with her on that.
Okay. Well, you know, if you guys want to talk after this, I would be more than happy to. Otherwise, if you are injured in any physical way, I can also tend to those wounds. But, yes, I'm sorry, Asha. I'm glad you're okay. I know that could have ended rather poorly for you. I think any other ventures into the dark, maybe we should stick together.
I think that would probably be the best thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying.
Yeah, just saying. All right, let's bring this little guy, and I hold up the flask to someone who might know a little bit more, maybe.
Okay. So you all turn and begin the trek back to camp after a, much more peaceful, less heart-wrenching and exciting journey over like the 15 minutes or so. You arrive back at the camp, a bustle with the normal activity that you expected to see. There's samples of rock being analyzed, there's people talking, and as you approach Brajo, or perhaps someone else you are looking for to deliver this sample, there is suddenly a thunderclap of sound, and there's a brief wave of dust that flies into the air. As you all look over, you see Josier in the center of the camp in a small clearing that has appeared around him, holding in one arm the form of Silix, who is pale. Her arm appears to be broken. She is sort of clutching it to her chest, and she is breathing rapidly and shallowly. You see Josier clutch his head and sort of stumble out of the circle behind one of the tents and out of sight. You don't see the rest of the group that went with them.
Oh no. I'll go with my medical bag out. Like, I'm here to help.
So, Silix, as you are all approaching, pipes up, just begins to speak in her voice, much like quieter and a little more raspy now. Okay, so there are some unanticipated difficulties with our journey. So we are going to have to make our way to the diving bell and leave at the shortest possible notice. There's been some sort of infection apparently dormant in the lung, and it appears that our interactions here might have allowed it transport to vessels other than those native to the lung, which could have very bad consequences. So we all need to, and at this point, I want everyone to make a perception check.
Oh no.
10.
14.
Okay.
16.
I am the
Excellent.
wiener.
So she's talking. She says, "It claimed the lives of a few of our companions. It has gotten into Koth's head in some way, and Josier's as well. He said something about it in his mind." And she babbles on a little bit. And you specifically, Asha, looking around, observant as you are, you notice that Josier has like unbuckled a small like sheath on his belt, and like looking more closely at him now, you see like it's looked like he was doing his normal like passive stoic thing, but you can see like every muscle in his body is tensed right now, and he's not staring at anything specifically, but he's just like glaring straight ahead. There's some look of like struggle on his face. His hand, like slowly shaking, reaches to his belt, pulls out a dagger. You see it slowly raise past Silix's form to his throat, where it begins to press in You see his muscles tense as he pushes it in a little bit. You see a drop of blood well out, and then all the muscles relax. He goes limp, and he opens his hand, and the dagger clatters to the floor of the lung. The rest of you watch. You see Silix talking. So we need to get to the sphere as quickly as we can. Her breast sort of hitches. She claws at her throat. She looks upward at Josier, and then her neck stretches and just pops, elongating unnaturally. Her head falls down, and her body collapses limp. And as you look up at Josier, you see him crying those same red tears as before. His hand drops down and her body falls to the floor. And he looks up at all of you. I want everyone to roll an athletics check.
Oh, no.
So this is the sort of finale segment. This is going to be a little more cinematic, more in the vein of a skill challenge than a combat or something.
13.
13.
18. I rolled 20, but I have a minus 2.
Nice.
Aw.
Nice.
You had a
Okay.
good roll.
So, Tora, you seeing, like, even just as his arm begins to raise up to point towards you, you immediately, like, grab the shoulders of your companions who are moving just a hair slower than you and dive out of the way. He brings his hand up and pulls it down in this clenched fist. And this perfect, like, 10-foot diameter circle just crushes into the stone floor of the lung, like some invisible hammer is just crushing it down. This, like, perfectly sheer, smooth line, forming a sort of wall that now exists in this small pool in the middle of the lung. Water begins to rise from the floor of the lung to fill it. And everyone who is in there, you see them just slam down to the ground as if by some invisible force. You hear screams and cries. You hear some sounds of bones breaking as the people who are sort of on the edge have parts of them, like, forced into this sort of gravity well. You three manage to duck behind one of the tents just in time. You take a moment to recoup your breath, stare towards the diving sphere, and begin to make a break for it. And as you run around the side of the tent, you run into Koth, who just is, like, down on one knee, head in his hands. And as you approach, he just looks up at you and says, "I'm sorry." And I want everyone to roll and add your inner defense.
Inner defense. All right, let's do
Inner
this.
defense.
Page 2, right-hand side.
Inner peace. Inner peace.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice.
What
I
was
rolled
it again
15,
that
but
we're
I have a
adding?
+5.
Inner defense. I got a 16.
20.
Okay.
15.
15, 16, and 20?
Mhm.
All right. Very good, you guys.
Woo.
So you just all sort of, as his eyes reach out, you feel like this probing influence begin to push into your mind, and you all just sort of, like, shut your eyes, you look away, and you, especially, Tora, who have trained in resisting these same effects that you can apply to other people, you manage to sort of, like, just shut your mind off against that influence. You all just push past him and continue to run, joining the flood of people heading towards the sphere. You see, the sphere is, 20 yards away from the main camp. As people approach it, there's now, like, a small group of maybe 10 or so people there, and there's just this hubbub as they're, like, banging on the side of it, but it is just this impassive, smooth, white sphere. What would you like to do? You're about equidistant between it and camp as you notice this.
We need the rock thingy.
Where
I
is
feel like
where's the rock?
it was with I can't remember her name because I'm a bad player.
Silix.
So yeah.
And where is she?
Dead on the ground, all the way over there.
All right, I'll go get it.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right. So you just kind of run back.
Mhm.
Are you trying to just get in and out really quick? Or are you trying to sneak? Or are you trying to
Get.
distract him?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sneak. I'm not gonna sneak.
Okay.
So just
It would
run.
be difficult for you. Okay. So just roll me an athletics check to get in and out as quickly as possible.
Come on, toilet.
Go toilet. I know what you mean.
11.
11. So yeah, you take a moment to like wait until Josier is like casting some effect on another group of people. He actually just like lifts his hand up, and you see these like this like rain of spikes just jut up from the floor, catching some of the members of the expedition as they try to run.
Oh no.
And as he's doing that, you run in. You reach for. There's like several pouches around her belt. Why don't you roll me a luck check?
Oh man. Oh, I think.
Or say you can either roll me a luck, or you can roll me a scholarship to remember where she put it
I
earlier.
will do luck because that's actually my highest talent.
Oh, okay.
I am super lucky. Ooh, nice. 20.
20. Awesome. So you actually just run, put a foot out, and like skid to a stop just over her body. You reach down and you find like the pouch with a bit of this white stone peeking out that has already been untied from her belt.
Yes.
It's like she was getting ready to use it before she died. So you just grab it. You don't even have to like get it out of the pouch. You just grab it and run back. Okay. And give me another check for running back. Another athletics check. And everyone also give me a perception check at this point.
16.
16. Perception checks also.
I got 6 on perception.
6.
20.
20. Nice.
16 for perception.
Okay. So you, with the blood pumping in your ears as you sprint away, you're just very focused on the sphere and getting back to it. You don't notice anything particular at Tora, and it was you, Asha, who got the 20. You hear, like, over the din of this chaos, very faintly the roar of rushing water. And as you look up above the tents towards the direction that Josier and Silix and the rest of the expedition went, you see the faint rising of this wall of mist in the distance. Meanwhile, you have the sphere. You just managed to sort of duck and sprint past as Koth lays down this blast of flame that just like turns one of the tents to ash. You manage to like just duck behind it, and some of the equipment manages to shield you as you like weave around it and head back towards the sphere. You now have it in your hand. You sort of make your way towards the sphere and manage to shove the people out of your way. What do you do?
So can I push my way in? I forget. Did she touch the stone or breathe on it?
I can roll scholarship to try and remember.
All right, let's do it.
Is he back with us right now? Would I also be able to try and figure
Yes,
out
you
what
can
it's-
all try and do this.
8.
8,
Ooh. 16.
16. Okay.
6.
Okay.
I am
So
Jon Snow.
You know nothing.
toilets, you start just like rubbing it and like thinking, open, open, open. And then Asha, you sort of pull it from him and just sort of like breathe on. You kind of like smack it against the side of the sphere. You, Tura, just like kind of grab it out of her hand and you're like, open. And the side, that smooth opening motion, people begin to just tumble and pour in, bodies like climbing over one another to make it inside the sphere.
Oh, geez.
You manage to clamber in. You see a few stragglers heading towards you as Josier continues to lay down this just wave of attacks against the people inside the camp. His head shoots up to look at you, as you see, all of you can see now from this higher vantage point in the distance, this rush of oncoming water. You actually recognize most of the people who are going to make it to the sphere inside by now. You see Brajo, sort of maybe 15 feet away, limping towards the sphere. It looks like his leg was broken or something. You can see like a bone sticking out at one point, and he just has this sort of pained expression on his face. He's like hopping on the one leg as fast as he can, trying to put the other foot down, but just like can't walk on it right now.
I'm gonna run with my little medical bag. Don't worry, I'm coming. And just start racing towards him.
I was gonna pass the stone to Asha and run out and try to get him in as fast as possible.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So you two bolt out together. Make me an athletics check, each of you.
12.
0?
Oh.
Just a flat 0?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay. So this could be a good time to use one of your surges if you wanted. It could be.
Do I
You
get
could save it for
rerolls or do I just get +5?
You get +5, but you avoid having a 0.
You know, let's keep it spicy. 0.
All right, I really admire that. I do. So you both bolt out. Toilets, you manage to sort of get like an arm and a leg and sort of do the like half the carry on your side. You try and pick him up, Tora, but you're just so discombobulated by everything going on. You actually like your hands are shaking and you just slip and he falls out of your grip and just lands on the floor on his broken leg and gives this
Oh no.
The water is rushing towards you now. You've got maybe like 20 seconds until it hits you in the sphere. And you can see now Josier's gaze is locked in your direction. He's beginning to stride towards you.
That's not good.
You
What do you
guys
do?
keep going. I'll run in a different direction to try to distract Josier.
Okay. All right.
Troy, you better live.
No promises.
Oh my god. What? You gotta promise.
You're really going in on this dying brutally thing, aren't you?
Actually, I don't know if the pressure would kill me, but I can breathe underwater.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I'm going off of. Like maybe this will work.
I'm like, she's a fish. She can live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Interesting. So, I want you to make me a what is it? What would it be? A presence check to try to distract Josier.
Okay, that's a talent thing.
Yes.
I'm gonna do my surge for the +5 on this one.
Okay. All right.
So it's 15.
15. All right. So you, is there any particular way in which you would like to catch his attention?
That.
All right.
So I'm already discombobulated, like, I gotta do something.
Okay.
The other way.
So, Toilets, you like dash out of the sphere with Tora at your side, like, we'll save this man together. And you just sort of get to him. She immediately like drops him. He just like screams down. She's like, sees Josier running towards you. She goes, whoop, 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 and just starts like sprinting away, like away from you and the sphere and this man. Josier like seems to be just in a state of like simple enough mind that just the fact that you are gesticulating and making all this noise is catching his attention. It's kind of a primal mind state he's in right now. So you see him fixate on you, and he like turns away from you and the rest of the occupants of the sphere. All right. What would you like to do, Toilets? And would you like to do anything, Asha?
I'm heading backwards, like, dude.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Okay. Would you like to be doing anything while this is going on? Oh, I can't hear you.
Probably trying to make sure that they're doing okay, and trying to wait for them to come back and be ready for them.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Cool. So, toilets, you make me an athletics check.
Let's do this. Ooh, 19.
Nice. So you just like, Brajo, he's not super heavy. He's a Wellan. You're a pretty big dude. So you just sort of like lift him up bodily, just kind of like onto your chest in sort of a cradle. Him giving another like cry and protesting as his leg sort of dangles from his body, you not holding that one.
Aww.
And you hustle over and make it into the sphere. You now see the giant oncoming rush of water is like seconds away from crashing into the sphere itself. Tura, what are you trying to get back to the sphere, or are you just heading away?
I'm just trying to away, and I'm gonna try and be like, maybe I'm a fish. Well, I am a fish. Maybe I can swim out of this. Okay.
So,
I'm just trying to get distracted enough that they can get out. Maybe I can get out
Okay.
after them.
roll me an athletics check just to make your way away from Josier.
So good at that. You don't even know I have a -4.
Oof.
That's actually 10 still.
10? Okay. So you managed to, like, jump and run a little bit, trying to make some distance between you and him. But as you look over your shoulder and see this huge, imposing form moving towards you, it is very clear that, like, this man has trained, like, his entire life to be doing stuff like this. You just sort of hear the clomping of his boots against the ground with this sort of finality to them as he rushes you. And running and running and running, you feel yourself suddenly picked up by the throat. You like squirm around in your grip to face him, and you see him crying those same red tears as you feel this pressure begin to build around your neck. Meanwhile, in the sphere, the water is very close now. What are you doing to get the sphere out of there?
I'll check. Can you close it? And with my shovel, before it closes, I want to throw the shovel as hard as I can at the person choking Tora.
Okay. Make a ranged combat check.
I'm gonna use my surge.
Yes.
Come on, that brings me to a +1 for my range combat. Let's see what oh god. I got a 6.
It just sort of like ting 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 like clangs to the ground. Like it like you're very strong, so it actually just overshoots by a little bit and like flies past him, even though he's like a good 40 or so feet away.
The shovel, use the shovel.
All right. I have some ranged combat skills. Let's see if I can do this. I know I don't have the shovel, but
The better you for the better.
The shovel was perfect.
Is there anything around me that I could use to throw to try to hit this guy?
You can throw this
roll
dude
luck.
I just brought.
You said luck, right?
Luck, yes.
18.
18. Yeah. You actually notice on the belt of one of the people lying on the ground right next to you, there is a very handy set of throwing daggers.
All right. So, when you say laying on the ground next to me, are they deceased, unconscious?
No, there's just sort of this mass of people sort of collapsed in the center of the diving bell right now, just sort of covering, these are mostly people who climbed in and have not yet managed to right themselves and like orient themselves to what's going on around them.
All right. I am sorry, my friend, but I need these more than you do at the moment. And I reach down and grab a couple of the daggers.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw them. And I have, where's it at here? Range combat. Okay. 18.
18. All right. That will hit. Roll some damage.
All right.
I'm sorry. You don't roll damage. I'm sorry. I was just instinctive.
Okay.
Okay, so 18, minor success. Those are probably like a size -3. That's +2, +2, so that's 4 damage. So you hit him in sort of the shoulder. You see a dagger like chink stick into the back of his shoulder. He doesn't seem to pay it much heed. He's a pretty tough dude. As you do this, Brajo actually sort of wrenches himself up to sitting on his butt, grabs who has the stone right now?
Asha.
Okay. Grabs your hand, pulls the stone towards him, and yells, "Emergency!" The doors of the diving bell just shut, cutting off your view of Tora and Josier and everything else going on outside. As the water rushes towards you, just seconds away now. You feel like a fishhook sort of pulling in your gut as you're all slammed to the floor as this thing just rockets upwards and away. Some indeterminate amount of time passes between 1 minute and an hour. It's just sort of blackness and the sounds of everyone's labored breathing on the floor of the bell around you, and the smell of like blood and sweat in the air. Now, Tura, you see the doors of the bell slide shut. You see it just shoot up, firing straight out the top of the membrane, leaving like a small hole as it does, which seems inconsequential as you can actually see the entire membrane collapsing around you now. And it's just you and Josier, and he's just holding you. You feel that as his like red tears drip down his cheeks, you feel that energetic pull at your neck. You feel individual tendons beginning to strain and snap. And then it stops. The tears vanish, and he clutches his head and turns to the side. And you look over, and you see Koth, his red hair waving gently, lit up as if a living flame is on his head. He looks at you and gives you like a small nod, walks up to Josier, just places a hand on his head. Josier yells, pulls out a dagger, and just stabs into Koth's back. Koth clutches onto him and just, with his last breath, pushes Josier forward as the water hits. So now he and Josier are between you and the water. It smashes against them. Luckily, they absorb the worst of the impact. You feel the water flood around you. Despite your aquatic nature, this is much more intense than anything you've experienced. You know, we all walk on land, but climbing Mount Everest is not a task for the faint of heart. You actually are just knocked unconscious by the sudden onrush of water. And you only wake up about an hour later, but we'll get to that in a second. So you two, sweating, panting, just waiting as this indeterminate amount of time passes on the floor of the diving bell. At some point, the doors open again. There is brightly lit sand in front of you. The smell of the sea breeze reaches your noses again. It seems a little surreal that all of this was happening just an hour ago. You've only been down there maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, you know? It's been so short an amount of time. You just sort of stumble out of the sphere. You notice there's a long white piece of cloth laid down between the sphere and this giant white tent that has been erected on the beach, displacing some of the other tents you remember being there earlier. Mm-hmm. There are several people garbed in white sort of ushering you along the path, almost like grabbing you out of the sphere and shoving you through into this tent where the flap is sort of sealed shut behind you once you're all in. As you turn and look back over your shoulder as you walk inside, you see an enormous tidal wave, maybe 200 feet tall, heading towards the shore, and a row of evokers all doing a synchronized power activation together, trying to diffuse the energy of the wave.
Oh.
Tura, you wake up washed up on the shore where the expedition took place. The first thing you see or notice as you come to consciousness is a pair of white gloved hands pulling you from the surf. You hear a couple of voices talk. You hear a male human asking, "Is this one of them?" And a Haolas voice, quiet but confident, wise. "Yes, bring her to the others." And you all notice about an hour after your isolation inside this place, as the sopping wet form of Tora is thrown unceremoniously through the flap, landing to sort of cough and sputter and drag herself back into consciousness. As you pick yourself up, being welcomed back by your friends, the flap opens again, and you see a Haolas standing in front of you. They are a tall, lithe, nomadic desert peoples, genderless. You know this particular Haolas. Their name is Lihanu, the half-lit moon.
Ooh.
They have barriers in barriers in spirit and shadow, and they are very involved in some of the stranger energetic studies that occur in the guild. They walk up, just sort of look down at all of you. "This infection has now spread over all of Etham. It will do incalculable damage to the planet if it is allowed to continue. It is already beginning to corrupt the other organs and memories of the planet. You are the only link we have to it. Only through you can we track down this infection and eradicate it. Rest well. Eat hearty. We start tomorrow."
Okay.
And they, yeah.
Have you seen our friend Tora?
Right
Oh,
here.
she's there with you guys
Oh.
now.
Yeah,
Hi, Tora.
Totally just missed it.
I was too enraptured by the tidal wave.
And that is where we will conclude our adventure for tonight.
As we load up our guns.
Fantasy gun.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Purge the planet.
Yeah. All right.
Murder.
All right.
Murder sickness.
That was really fun. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Thanks
great.
for playing, guys.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Always happy to run this game.
All right, guys. Thank everyone for staying up, chilling out with us. This is Mitchell from Penny for a Tale. Hope to see you guys again sometime soon. I'll let you know the schedule. You'll see on our Facebook, YouTube, on this as well. And why don't you guys each give a send-off?
Yeah. I started last time, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
start. All right. So I hope both everyone playing and also everyone watching, to all of you who are watching, thanks so much for watching and playing. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in seeing more of Beyonder, you can find us on Facebook at Beyonder RPG, on Twitter at FNB Games. And if you want to be kept in the loop about further happenings with the game, go to fnbgames.com/contact, and you can sign up for our newsletter there.
Woo. And they're coming out with a supplement, which we're all excited about. It's going to be great.
Yes. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
It's going to be awesome. All right, Malia.
I'm Malia. I technically have a Twitch. Haven't set it up. That's the 50 millionth time I've said this on this channel. I show up here frequently. Sundays, do Pathfinder, Hell Rebels, and you'll probably just see me a bunch more anyways. Yeah.
And Amanda.
Well, as they said, I'm Amanda. I will probably be back as long as I'm invited back, because it will be a lot of fun as it was tonight. I do D&D. I'm a huge nerd. I don't know, kids. There we go.
There
Kind
we
of.
go.
So yeah, I dig the role playing games. So
Awesome, awesome. So yes, thank you again for coming back for Penny of a Tale after our short hiatus during Origins. July, a lot of amazing stuff are coming up. We have the Cult campaign. We will be doing the Black Madonna. Those people that you cried over and worried about, those players, be prepared to do the same thing over again. Malia will definitely be one of them. Other than that, we are working with Magpie Games to create a cartel campaign. The Kickstarter, you of course can check this out. I'll put it on the notes just for people. So yeah, looking forward to that, and hope you guys have a wonderful night. Bye.